Welcome back to the SighSquadPodcast.
Yo.
Great week for sport. We might as well start out with the drama-filled stuff in the MLB. As you know, there's been things going on back and forth between the MLBPA and the MLB on, it's basically a salary issue and a how many games they're going to play issue at this point.
Yeah.
MLB players are okay with whatever amount of games as long as they're getting paid fully. But the MLB is not okay with that. And so it's kind of, and the last couple have kind of been, according to the MLBPA, the MLB's last couple of offer type of deals have kind of just been slaps to the faces.
Yeah.
Not really changing anything, just changing a few words to make it sound better. And I don't think the MLB's coming back this year.
No, I don't. I definitely think there's going to be a season being played, especially after the list of especially what just went down with them, like with them announcing like there won't be a season unless the players give up like their legal action on the league or whatever.
Right.
Because the players shouldn't have to stand down for their money. Like, they shouldn't have to, like, fight for that. You know, I understand these are really trying times we're in, but it's still, it's just kind of criminal what the MLB is doing, and they're not respecting their players.
Right, and I think the commissioner, especially, I think he knows exactly what's happening, and he's just refusing to step in and do what's right.
Right.
Yeah, and I've seen things where he's now talking about how he's not confident that they are even going to be back this year.
Yeah, which wouldn't surprise me at all.
And if you think about it, of all the people on these, what would you even call it, sports brands? Sports leagues, that's a good name for it. And all these people in Sports Grid, you haven't seen or heard Adam Silver say anything bad, like it's not going to happen. They've always pushed for something to happen. You haven't seen Roger Goodell do anything to say it's not going to happen. The NHL, they're just silently working along. They already got Vegas as a hub city, working on getting...
Is it official that they're a hub city?
Yeah, Vegas is going to be one of the hub cities, and then they're working on trying to get a place in Canada, but they're trying to work with the government to lift the 14-day quarantine to start off. But it's basically...
Like, every league has had a good plan except for every league has a plan and is going through with it except for Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And that's just a bummer because, like, I've been saying this about Major League Baseball for a while. It's already losing touch with a lot of the younger audiences and stuff, like people like our age or, you know, a little bit of, like, people under 40.
Right.
And that's why, you know, leagues like football are obviously so popular. That's why leagues like Major League Soccer have rose up in popularity because they just don't like baseball anymore. Like, no one likes baseball. I don't know if you guys saw, but ESPN did a study. They quizzed fans under the age of 40. Karis LeVert is actually more well-known than Mike Trout, and Mike Trout is easily their best player. He's one of the best baseball players ever.
You're talking about the Nets player, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't even know what team he's on, and you weren't even 100% sure what team he was on, and he's more popular than MLB's best player. In fact, one of the best baseball players ever.
Wait, who is the guy that's more popular than Mike Trout?
Karis LeVert. He is a basketball player, Brooklyn Nets.
I don't even know who that is.
Exactly, you're right. And you don't watch basketball, obviously, but even then, like, Duncan didn't even know for sure what team he was on. Like, that just shows the issue with Major League Baseball going on right now. They have lost touch with their fans. They have lost touch with their players. They have just lost touch to what makes sport, like, what are leagues like the NBA and the NFL and MLS are doing so good right now in evolving as a sport. Baseball is just failing at every aspect of that. And that's why, like, let's be real. If there was no baseball season, would any of us here be upset about it?
No.
Like, I would be like, oh, bummer, but like I would be like it'd be like that sucks, but like I wouldn't be bummed about it because I would just be occupied with all these other sports that I actually find more interesting than baseball right now.
Right. The only thing about baseball that even intrigues me one bit at the moment is the amount of FanDuel things you can do with it.
Right.
But that really has nothing to do with baseball itself.
Well, the thing is
baseball still
kind of, hush push about, betting and all that stuff.
That's true.
Like, there's still
hush push
about social media stuff. They're just so hush push about. They're just so old fashioned, which is why they're losing touch. They can't afford to not have a season. Because then again, like you talked about this last week, Duncan, the lasting image that MLB is going to have for the season cancellation is the Astros scandal. And everyone hating at baseball because of it. And now the Yankees are getting involved for a sign stealing scandal. Like, this whole thing is just not a good look for baseball.
No, not at all. Do you think it could be the end of the current MLB as we know it?
Should be. it should be. Like, things need to change in Major League Baseball, and it probably won't change until they get a younger commissioner in there, which I don't know if that'll ever happen. Like, it's just baseball's
I'll
just
do
so
it, guys.
they're trying to attract the wrong audience.
I would agree with that.
Like, they're just attracting the wrong audience. And like I love baseball. I really do. But like, it's I don't know. It's just weird because like baseball's just so like stuck in their ways. They're just, not connecting with the younger audiences, and they try to do that by, trying to hit more home runs or like altering, baseballs, like rumored baseballs. But then you just piss off the players. Like, if you just sell it on social media, you hype up your big time athletes like Mike Trout and Bryce Harper and Ronald Acuna. Hype these guys up as like can't miss guys. And MLB is just so bad on social media that they just can't do that like other sports can.
Right, like if you named a random player that wasn't on the Twins or one of the like hugest names in America, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you anything about him.
Right, and then meanwhile, there's really good players out there like like Nolan Arenado, Blake Snell, JT Realmuto, Reese Hoskins, who's a lot of these guys I haven't even heard of, but they're just one of the most talented players in baseball. Or like Anthony Rendon, Juan Soto, like all these guys.
Yeah, it sucks that.
It does.
Because
like
baseball it used to be America's sport. It shouldn't just be thrown to being less worth than hockey.
Right,
hockey
exactly.
wasn't even born here.
Right. Right, and that's just it. And because like the thing with baseball is like this is just no reason they're just stuck in their ways. Because every other league right now is a players' league. MLB is not. They don't tend to the players like these other leagues do. And these MLB players are pissed about it. Yeah, they may get more money than all the other guys, but they're still pissed on how they're treated. They're not treated like the superstars that they are. And you watch how NBA and NFL treat their athletes. Heck, now even how MLS is treating their athletes, I would be upset about it too. In fact, just in. Trevor Bauer calls Manfred a bluff. The future of the game, he said the future of the game for ransom. He's holding the future of the game for ransom, and I 100% agree with that. The future of Major League Baseball is in trouble because of Rob Manfred.
And who is Trevor Bauer? For those who...
And Trevor Bauer is one of the best pitchers in baseball, and no one ever talks about him. Oh, it's so sad. Shame on Rob Manfred in Major League Baseball.
Who does he play for?
He plays for the Cincinnati Reds.
I wonder how many people could name all the teams in baseball.
I guarantee not a lot could. And another thing too, baseball is becoming regional now. Whether people want to believe it or not, it's becoming regional.
Yeah, it's
and
like
that's
going
the last thing you want at sports league is to be a regional sport. There's a difference between regions being better than other like teams. Like obviously, like the SEC produces better football talent than like the Pac-12, but football is still popular everywhere you go.
Right.
Baseball is only popular in a few places. And I can tell you, here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the Midwest is not one of them.
I couldn't even tell you how many baseball teams there are.
There's 30 to be exact.
Oh, well, there you go.
I think I could name them all, but if I was put on the spot, I don't know if I'd be able to.
The only reason I can is because I like baseball and because I'm just I'm a nerd. Like, that's the only reason I would be able to know all the teams. But, like, if I were to ask you guys, well, first off, do you and this is like an actual question. This isn't me being a smart ass. Do you guys know what division the Minnesota Twins play in?
No clue. I just know they play with the
Central Division in the American League.
They play against the Cubs, right?
They do not. The Cubs are in the other division in the United.
Shows how much I know.
Right, and I mean, that's not. I don't even blame you guys for that. I blame Major League Baseball for that. Because, like...
Is it the North? Do they play the North?
It is not. So, technically, they play in the AL Central. They have 3 divisions in each league.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, no, I was talking about that for Ben.
Oh, I know, but you just kind of, like, blew off the fact that I gave the correct answer earlier.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Oh, well, get better.
Did you watch baseball?
Did I watch baseball?
Yeah.
Like, many moons ago, before I cared about things like the Central Division in the American League, I only knew that there was an American League and a National League and the teams within those, sort of, because I was 9.
I just know that Nelson Cruz is my second favorite baseball player. So
he's old.
That's okay. I like him.
He is pretty good.
He gets me a lot of fantasy points.
I'm sure. Well, with all the Los Bombas they hit this year. Yeah, it's just a shame because I like baseball. I really do. But there have other sports that have taken that have piqued my interest more.
And I think one of those sports that's going to pique your interest is the WNBA this season.
Just might.
They actually just today, this afternoon, agreed upon a 22-game regular season starting in July, which seems to be the starting point for all these major sports coming back, endish of July. And they will host all the games in Bradenton, Florida, so basically near Tampa. And then they'll have a single elimination playoff for the second round. And then the semifinals and finals will be 5-game series.
What a fun little plan by WNBA.
Yeah, just silently working in the back.
Yeah, like WNBA making things happen. And honestly, here's another thing about Major League Baseball is like with WNBA, like they're hyping up some of their players. Like Sabrina Ionescu, I am hyped to watch her play. Like I'll actually watch WNBA just to watch her play. I'm not going out of my way to watch Mike Trout, but I'll go out of my way to watch Sabrina Ionescu.
Oh, I definitely will too. Her first game and when the season starts, I'll definitely watch it.
Oh, without question. I guarantee that'll be one of the most watched WNBA games ever when she makes her debut.
And I wouldn't even question that.
Yeah.
It better be on ESPN regular television.
Oh, I guarantee it will. I'd be shocked if it wasn't. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the Liberty play the reign. Who are the reigning WNBA champs? Is it Seattle?
I think so.
I don't know for sure, but like I wouldn't be surprised if they have the Liberty play the reigning champions of the WNBA. I want to say it's Seattle, but I could be wrong. I know it's not the Mystics because they won a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, who knows?
Who?
But it was Washington Mystics.
Oh, was it last? Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez, why did that feel like such a long time? Dang, off topic, but Washington's kind of kicking ass when it comes to championships.
Yeah, are the Seahawks next?
I doubt it.
I kind of doubt it too.
Oh, I meant like the Washington D.C.
Oh, are the Redskins next?
Hell no.
Absolutely not.
Take Seattle over the Redskins easily.
I was looking at Seattle Storm and I was like, wait, Washington.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
hey, notice how whoever I thought was the WNBA champion, it was either the team from DC or the team from the state of Washington.
That's fair. But yeah, the WNBA is going to be coming back. 77% vote rate or acceptance, whatever.
Awesome.
So it had most support.
Yeah, three or dang near 3/4 of the league. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, over 3/4 of the league. That's good.
And I'm excited to see what they do, especially more than the MLB.
Exactly. I'm hoping that the Lynx finish with the worst record so we can get Paige Buchers.
Good luck.
Thank you.
But while you're talking about college people,
Yeah.
there's some wild stuff coming out there. Oklahoma State's running back and probably the best running back in the league at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's either him or Travis Etienne.
Yeah, he said he's not gonna play because their coach, Mike Gundy, wore an OAN shirt, which is kind of, think of Fox, but think of even more
It's a very far right television broadcast.
Yes.
Yeah, which does not stand for anything that Hubbard stands for. And they came out with a statement, OK State, saying that we will not tolerate insensitive behavior by anyone at Oklahoma State. But I don't know what that does for anybody just coming out with a statement, because it's not like they did anything, and it's not like what are you going to ban him from wearing a shirt? Like, you can't really do anything there.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Well, here's the thing. So I'm going to leave political views out of this. I'm leaving everything out of this. It's just a bad look for Mike Gundy, and it's just one of those things, like, we are in tough times right now. So it's just one of those things where you have to just kind of read the room. And when you're a high profile guy like that, you just got to be aware that anybody can get a picture of you. Anybody can, rat you out or do something like that. It's so easy to do when you're a high profile guy. So I just think it needed to be better awareness on Mike Gundy's end. And in terms of Chuba Hubbard, like, it's a shame that I'm not going to be able to see him play, because I think he's he's one of the best running backs in the country, arguably the best running back in the country. It's just, I understand what he is trying to say. I understand that he needs to take his stand, and for that, I support anybody that wants to take their stand and all that. It's just a shame that it just took a lack of awareness for us to lose one of the best players in the country.
So do you think if Chuba is to sit out either the whole season or part of the season, do you think that would affect his draft stock?
I do.
He is a sophomore, so if he sits out for his junior year, he could come back for the senior year.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had intended on going to the draft after his junior year or not, but if he were to sit out, I could see it.
He was projected to be a pretty good pick.
Yeah.
So here's my thought on it. Will this season, and if it happens, there's no promises it's gonna happen. If this college football season happens, right? Is there gonna be an asterisk by everybody's name anyways? Because they're playing under such strange and unique conditions. Because I don't know if I could fault somebody for not playing that well if they don't have fans, they're getting tested for corona every 3 days, they're this, they're that. They don't get to go through their regular season and go through football how they have always gone through it. And so I don't know if you can fault the guy, even if he did sit out. I don't know if it'd drop his stock necessarily because it's kind of like an asterisk season anyways.
Right. And that's a good point even too, because then it comes to the question of what happens with the NFL draft. Like it would be one of the most it'd be the riskiest NFL draft ever because you would just draft based on pure potential without ever seeing anybody play. And it would be a very tough situation for the NFL and the NFL draft if there was no college football season. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I wouldn't like to see players sit out. I mean, but if there's no season, then everyone's sitting out. And then when it comes to the draft, no one would be affected because no one would play, which would be a bummer for some of these guys who are kind of in the 4th or 5th or kind of barely getting drafted range because they need this season to improve their draft stock.
I think if for whatever reason we either get a shortened college season or no college season, I think that would make the draft interesting because then I think with the draft, it'd be interesting for watch again, and it wouldn't be the best situation for the players. It wouldn't be the best situation for the players, but from a viewer standpoint, I think it would make the draft very interesting because it would then come down to teams how good their scouts are, basically how good they are at seeing potential in players rather than tape. Because every year we have a couple guys who are pretty much guaranteed top 1 or 2 picks. We might not necessarily have that if we miss a whole season of college football.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like I definitely agree. It'd be interesting because then it's like you still have some of these top players, and then there'd be the toss up of like, well, do we take Justin Fields or do we take Trevor Lawrence and blah blah blah. It would just make for a very interesting dynamic without any question.
Do you think that? Because I know there were some things about Dabo Swinney and a few other coaches in the college football world. The Dabo's kind of a little different, where it's just kind of how he is, and all the team that's spoken out seem okay with Dabo.
Yeah,
spoken out against what the allegations were. But could you see more players kind of take this kind of step into standing for themselves and taking that risk of not playing versus playing in the strange times that we're in? Because I could see some players doing it.
Oh my gosh, I fully expect it because players are already doing it now. You know, players that don't play in their crappy bowl games prepare for the draft, they're already out looking for themselves. And unless you are vying for a national title, I don't have an issue with players sitting out. Do what's best for you and what you want to do for what's going to help you in the draft. If Chuba Hubbard wants to sit out because of what Mike Gundy is doing, go for it. If you prepare for the whole draft, go for it. It's like Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa could have came back his last year at Ohio State, decided not to, and now he's one of the best defensive ends in football.
Right.
You know, or it's just like Leonard Fournette didn't play his bowl game. Christian McCaffrey didn't play his last bowl game. Like players are starting to do this more, and I'm not having any issue with it. You know, obviously the situation's a little bit different, but I don't mind it because it's essentially the same thing I've been seeing over the last 5 years is players just sitting out doing what's best for themselves anyway.
Fair. Anybody have anything to add? Brendan, we haven't heard your voice.
I'm still alive.
That's good.
I'm glad to hear that.
That's about all I got.
Okay. Oh, you guys want to move on then to franchise mode?
Yeah.
All right. You guys are going to love this one. Not going to lie. Love it. This is going to be the best one yet. All right. So who do I got? I got my favorite team in the world, the Denver Broncos.
Sure.
And what's going to happen with the Denver Broncos? We're going to lose in the second round of the playoffs this year.
Nice.
And why are we going to do that? Because we're too talented to not make the playoffs.
These are facts.
And why are we too talented to not make the playoffs? Well, look at the roster. Just on our offense alone, if we can get things figured out, Drew Lock's been practicing with his receivers. Ocho Cinco said that our 3 receivers, Judy, Cortland Sutton, and KJ Hamler, are all #1 receivers.
I would agree.
I'm really high on KJ Hamler from things I've seen. Jerry Judy, best wide receiver to come out of the draft.
In years.
Gonna be the rookie of the year, most likely.
Probably.
Our offensive line has been much helped with Graham Glasgow and drafting Lloyd Cushenberry. Garrett Bowles is on a prove-it season. While he may get 20,000 holding calls, I think that he's going to show why he deserves money. I think he's going to get that money, sadly, but I think he's going to show why he should have the money. And I think the offense is going to be a top 10 offense in the league. Granted, they are fighting up against the best offense in the league, arguably, in the Kansas City Chiefs twice, but you only need to get lucky once. And if Drew Lock is what everybody's saying all of a sudden that Drew Lock is, and if Drew Lock's going to be this next talent, he can run with old Patrick Mahomes.
Brendan, Duncan, do you want a fun little stat that I learned the other day?
Oh, I'd love the fun little stat.
So in his rookie year, Drew Lock's rookie year, in the few games that he played, had a better completion percentage, had a better touchdown. Other than one person, he had a better touchdown to interception ratio, and he had a better passing than Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz, and Pat Mahomes, except for the touchdown to interception ratio with Patrick Mahomes because he only threw like 1 interception. But
I saw that also.
I think that's a fun little stat.
Yeah, Drew Lock is scary.
And you want to know something, Duncan? What did all guys do their sophomore year? What did Wentz, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson all do their sophomore years?
They became the best stars in the league and went to the Super Bowl, but
they all became stars. 2 of them won MVP. Carson Wentz would have won it had he not tore his ACL.
Right. So what's gonna happen with Drew Lock? Same exact thing. He's not gonna tear his ACL though. He's gonna MVP it.
MVP.
Wait, so did you say that Drew Lock had a higher passer rating than Mahomes, Wentz, and Lamar Jackson?
In their rookie year. And yes, that includes like Lamar Jackson, or Patrick Mahomes playing like the only like 1 or 2 games. It's just a fun stat I saw the other day. Like, take it with a grain of salt because of how many games they played. That's just the stat I saw.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, obviously, like, you can talk about how many games that they played or whatever, but like, I mean, I could argue Drew Lock had a worse team than Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes did their rookie years, and he, still played better.
I saw another stat comparing the Broncos offense, or the Chiefs offense and the Broncos defense, and if you average out all their 40 times for the starting players, they're the exact same.
Denver's defense is going to be extremely underrated and underappreciated next year.
And that's another thing that was what I was going to next. So we picked up Jarrell Casey, amazing. Yeah. Bradley Chubb's coming back from his ACL, whatever it was, his tearing injury, his season sidelining injury, coming back better than ever. Reports are coming out today, actually, that he is ready to start playing. Von Miller, Todd Davis. We picked up A.J. Boye. Kareem Jackson's there. The greatest safety in football right now that nobody talks about, Justin Simmons. PFF, Pro Football Focus's highest ranked safety.
And that
Justin
matters.
Simmons. We have him. Exactly. That defense is going to be top 10 next year. Could we see a struggle to start the season with how the new guys are and we haven't really gotten a chance to see them work together? Yes. But as soon as they figure it out, we are going to be explosively good. Looking at special teams here, we're not going to look at special teams because it's nothing special. Except for Brandon McManus did say that he is going to successfully attempt the longest field goal ever in a Denver game this year.
That would be awesome.
And Coach Fangio didn't say when it was going to happen, but he said that he's agreed to let Brandon McManus at least try it. So, going to hold the field goal. Well, Matt Prater held it, and he was a Bronco. So, we're going to keep that. But actually looking at the Broncos for a little further, we have a team that's pretty young. We do have a couple veteran guys like Von Miller and stuff, but our team's pretty young, and I just see them going up from now. So for the season, I see their floor is being 8-8, which is an improvement from last year going 7-8, and I see their ceiling realistically 12-4 at this point. I don't see them beating Kansas City. I mean, miracles happen, but I just don't see them beating Kansas City, and then you're gonna have a few other losses there. But I'm super high on the Broncos this year. One thing that I would like us to do. Philip Lindsay is going to be a free agent next season. We need to sign Philip Lindsay. Justin Simmons is going to be a free agent. We need to sign Justin Simmons. And we just need to lock down our key pieces and not let them go, because that's my biggest fear, is that we're going to waste money on people who shouldn't have it, like Garrett Bowles, and we're going to let somebody like a Philip Lindsay or a Justin Simmons walk because we see somebody who looks decent, like a Melvin Gordon situation. Oh, we don't need Philip Lindsay anymore. We got Melvin Gordon. And I just hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, I think the Broncos are going to do good this year. There's nothing really horrible. They kind of improved everything that were big faults last year. The only question mark I'd say is on how everybody's actually going to perform. And of course, I go into things with a positive, super positive mindset that everything's going to go well. But think we could struggle early. But I think by the end of the season, the Broncos are going to be a team that everybody's talking about.
So, Duncan, I do have a quick question.
Yes.
With your plan of success for the future, because we're talking about Denver Broncos as the whole franchise here, do you have any partnerships that you're going to do?
Well, the Broncos did just partner with FanDuel. First NFL team to do it. Pretty great. But honestly, I don't know what partnerships we do. I think one thing that is important, though, is to figure out exactly what's going on with our ownership situation. As you know, Pat Bowlen passed away, and there's all this like, what's going on? Who owns it? All this stuff, right? There's a bit of like, I don't know how to call it. I don't know. It's just a situation, I guess. Because it's not like it's horrible or anything, but Pat Bowlen's daughter wants to get the ownership and probably should get the ownership. But then people within the Denver Broncos don't necessarily want him to exactly have it or her to exactly have it and keep it. And so it's just a weird situation. It's been going on since Pat Bowlen died. And I think that that's probably something that's definitely needs figured out ASAP. Roger Goodell did say if something doesn't happen this season, to get that figured out, he will officially step in. And I don't know if that means they just force him to sell the team or what, but I don't know. I hope that she keeps the team because she was working in the front office of the team beforehand anyways. And so she kind of knows what to do. And as you know, we do not like owners very well at the SighSquad Pod. There's a few okay ones, but most of the owners we don't like. So we don't want new ones either, especially on the Broncos.
Well, maybe a new one might change things, though. You never know.
The only thing that needs to be changed is John Elway's position.
Well, yeah.
And nobody's going to do that, not even a new owner.
No.
What if you just take his position?
Whose position am I taking? John Elway's?
John Elway's.
I'm hiring John Elway as my assistant then. Because while I don't like some questionable moves that he's made, especially with the quarterback position, I think he's decent enough to where he's better than Bill O'Brien.
John Elway has been so good at producing talent. He literally just couldn't get the quarterback right, but now he finally did with Drew Lock.
Right.
I mean, he did win a Super Bowl as a president of football operations.
Yes, he did. And he went to 2.
True. He won 2 as a player. Oh, yeah. He did go to 2. And they did lose to Seattle, but that Seattle team was just too freaking good.
Yeah, and it was probably thrown or something. I don't know. Look at the highlights and take it as you will. I don't know if that's a team that showed up to play.
Right.
But yeah, that's the Broncos. Who's next week's friend of the week for spinning?
Me.
Ben, what teams would you like?
What's left? Hope the wheel.
I'll show you here.
Don't get the Bears. I still want the Bears.
Bears are one of those teams that are left. And honestly, I would like to get the Bears. So if we want to hold
the Bears so bad. You guys don't even understand. I want the Bears so bad.
I want the Bears. Actually,
we all want
Patriots
the Bears.
Still
Ben,
up there?
Patriots?
Yeah, the Patriots are still there. Don't let Ben have the Patriots either.
I kind of want the Patriots. I think it'd be fun.
So officially, our teams that are left. What? No, it's not spinning yet. Our teams left: the Jets, the Steelers, the Cardinals, the Colts, the Raiders, the Chargers, the Patriots, the Redskins, Buffalo Bills, the Dolphins, the Titans, the Rams, the Saints, the Bears, and the Vikings. Which one of these teams would you like most, Ben?
Well, now I want the Bears.
Oh, okay. Here we go. We're spinning. Big bucks, big bucks, big bucks.
Don't get the Bears. I want the Bears so bad.
No,
don't get the Rams now.
New Orleans.
Okay, I'm like,
Saints.
no, don't get the Rams.
Right, that's easy.
I want the Rams.
No, you can't do all of the franchises.
I wanted 2 things going into this. I wanted the Rams and I wanted the Bears. Those are the 2 teams I so desperately want.
I wanted the Broncos and I got them.
I wanted the Patriots just so that way people aren't like, okay, so here's the plan. We're going to tank for like the next 17 years. Although that just might be my plan at this point. just do what the
Patriots
what the
plan.
Dolphins are doing, where they've just sat like the last like decade and done next to nothing?
No, here's what they do. The Patriots trade Bill Belichick to the Texans.
What?
Bill for Bill?
Whoa.
No, not for Bill O'Brien, for Deshaun Watson.
Oh.
Great trade.
Oh my
Yeah.
God! If that could actually be like a thing, that would be insane. Because like
I mean,
honestly,
to
Josh
be fair,
McDaniels would just step
okay, but
up
still,
and
they
have a
wouldn't need to do
heyday.
that. They could just straight up just sign Deshaun Watson.
That's true. Won't he be a free agent this year?
He will be, and the Patriots are gonna have one of the best cap situations in the league next year. Like they're gonna have some blow, and I think that money's gonna be blown on a quarterback, but it's not gonna be blown.
Just about
out.
90 mil next season. Just about 90 mil.
That's
Yeah.
nice money to be holding.
For Cam Newton.
Oh,
No, not for Cam Newton.
No.
well, the new
90
rumor is
million?
actually for the
So
Patriots.
hear me out.
I'll hear you.
There's going to be like a Deshaun Watson in the mix. There's going to be a Derek Carr in the mix. There's going to be a Trevor Lawrence in the draft. There's going to be, there's just so many things.
Right, the Patriots have so many options. It's kind of annoying, actually.
And plus, on
I
top
feel like
of it,
Derek Carr.
go ahead, Ben.
I can see Derek Carr being a viable option for the Patriots. I can see them going after Derek Carr.
The
Well, I feel
Patriots.
like Derek Carr would work very well with Josh McDaniels
I think he
personally.
would too.
Like I think that would be something just scary.
And I feel like they wouldn't have to pay that much to Derek Carr, and they probably wouldn't have to fight the Raiders for him.
No, the Raiders have already kind of given up on Derek Carr, it seems. So, like, the Raiders might dead-ass start Marcus Mariota at this point.
So stupid.
I'm honestly surprised we didn't see Nathan Peterman get a starting job last year.
Oh, Patriots Nathan Peterman.
I mean, that's only if Bill's staying around, but I don't think Bill's staying around for much longer. I think Bill Belichick's getting ready to retire.
He's trying to get one more ring to prove he didn't need Brady.
I think it'd be funny if Bill Belichick retired from the Patriots and then re-signed with the Jets.
That would be funny.
Bill Belichick was the head coach of the Jets. Walked in, had like one practice, and immediately the next day quit. I don't think Bill Belichick would go to the Jets.
I think it'd be
Maybe
funny.
the Bills.
It's a good what-if scenario. He's probably thinking and said, what if I wouldn't have left the Jet?
I mean, if he goes to the Jets, he will get Sam Darnold.
It's
If
true.
Bill Belichick would have stayed on the Jets that like one off season, the Jets probably would have ended up with like 3 or 4 Super Bowls, just with like different talent that they've had or had the potential to get. Like I saw just like a little like conspiracy video on it. You get bored at 3 a.m. sometimes, guys. It happens.
That's fair.
But all this talk about, I don't know, we might want to do that at the end.
Yeah.
Is it outlandish for me to talk about HOL and HOF? No.
Oh, well, normally we do at the end after we rank them.
All right. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. There we go. We would like to congratulate Robert Mathis on being announced for the Colts Ring of Honor.
Woo!
The Colts all-time sack leader. Pretty cool.
Oh, by the way, what was the result of last week's running back thing?
There was not a poll.
Oh,
Yeah. No, I forgot about it.
That's
Until it was Saturday evening, and I'm like, well, it's too late because where our vote's going to go to, however I want them to. And so
Well-
I just didn't make a poll.
that's fair. But congrats to Robert Mathis, though.
Yeah. But you're talking about a poll. We'll probably have a poll this week.
I'm sure.
Tight ends. We're going to rank them.
Tight ends.
Yeah. So we listed all the tight ends that are something special in the league. Before we get to that, we'd like to congratulate Kyle Shanahan on getting an extension through the 2025 season. But back to what I was saying, we're going to rank some tight ends. Last year, we also ranked tight ends. I don't know if you remember. If you go back to the archives, you can find it. They are there. And here I'm looking up here how we did last year. Throwback, that episode, we also talked about the Raptors or the Warriors winning the championship. So go back. It was a good episode. We ranked the worst free agent signings in history.
Wow.
Yeah. But if you look at last year we ranked George Kittle, Travis Kelce, and Zach Ertz as elite talent.
Yeah,
So
pretty
we
accurate.
got it all right on that, from that standpoint anyways. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Can you?
Yeah, we can see it.
Perfect. I don't think we did too horribly ranking people.
No.
I think Gerald Everett deserves to go up a little bit.
Yes.
Same with probably Disley there.
Yeah, but we did decent, I think. Probably one of our better ones.
We put Jordan Reed in the B category. Did Jordan Reed even play this season? I honestly can't even remember.
I think he played one game.
Jordan Reed would have been B talent if Jordan Reed, could be healthy for half of a season.
Yeah, no, he didn't play last season. You're right. So that was a little off on us. But hey, you live and you learn. But yeah, so last year, everything kind of turned out how we kind of ranked them in a way. And so you should trust that we are going to get it right again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rip Sport of the Week, man. Rip Sport of the Week. Okay, but back to ranking some tight ends here. We got a ton of tight ends. Might as well start off here. We got 4 categories. 5 categories? 4 categories. 4 categories here. We got elite, above average, average, and below average. Below average is saved for those special players that just shouldn't quite be starters in the NFL, but kind of are anyway. And elite are for the best of the best, the greatest athletes of their position. So we might as well start out with the greatest athlete in this division, or in this. Let me restart that. So we might as well start out with the greatest tight end in this list, George Kittle, elite in my book.
Elite.
He should be elite in every
Elite.
football man's book.
Perfect. Next up, we got a great veteran here. Going to the Seattle Seahawks this year. We'll see what happens there. We got Greg Olsen.
Average at this point.
I'm gonna say above average, especially because I feel like if anybody can unlock, his true potential, a guy like Russell Wilson might be awesome for that. So above average.
Fair. How old is Gregory?
Old.
36, 37, 38.
I don't think there's potential to be unlocked there necessarily.
Well, so Greg Olsen, if we go back 2 years, Greg Olsen was, a leader among a lot of things, but then just has had some injury problems with his foot.
Yeah.
And then obviously a terrible quarterback situation in Carolina. I thought personally that he would be done, but...
So if you look at it real quick, his last full season was 2016. He had just over 1,000 yards and 3 touchdowns. Since then, he's had a 200-yard season, a 300-yard season, and a 600-yard season. Last year, 14 games. I did notice that he is the number 1 starter on their depth chart, so he is above Will Dissey on their depth chart, which I don't know if that will help him, if that makes him get more targets or not. But I'm going to say average, just because obviously he's getting up there in age. Yeah. But I still think he could be a functional tight end for Russell Wilson.
Oh, yeah, no, 100% agree. I don't trust his health at this point anymore.
I think Pete Carroll does
I don't either.
Run a few different two tight options.
Yeah. So. And also, you got to remember with Will Dissey being number 2 on the list, he was injured and missed out on the end of the season last year. So that could potentially be part of the reason.
Well, and Pete Carroll likes to run the football anyway, so that's kind of why he likes to do tight end set.
But while we're talking about Will Dissey, where would Will Dissey belong? I'd say average.
Yeah,
I'm going to go above again.
I got to put Will Dissey at average, but you can sway me either way.
I'm going to say average, too. Go ahead, Ben.
I would just say above average. I think that the earlier part of the season, when he was healthy and whatnot this past season, he showed a lot of great promise in that passing game. And I think if he does play for a whole season and obviously some playoffs that the Seahawks might be able to make it back to, might not, who knows? I think we'll see that come to surface.
I'm gonna say average. I think Will Dissey was really effective in the red zone, scoring 4 touchdowns over 6 games. Otherwise, 200 yards over 6 games is for passing wise. I think Russell Wilson will utilize him a lot in the red zone, but I don't see him. I see him probably getting more yards than Greg Olsen, but I'm not. I think average is probably going to be a fair assessment for him.
Greg Olsen being more of the yardage guy, while Will Dissey is the red zone target.
That's kind of what I'd think as well.
Yeah, I feel like if
I just don't know.
I have to put Will Dissey at average. But again, I think the Seahawks are working with a solid duo of tight end.
Fair. All right, our boy Will average. Next we got Ricky Seals-Jones. So he is currently
the second string on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep, behind Travis Kelce.
Yep.
To be honest, I didn't really know what team Ricky Seals-Jones was on, so I
had to go too.
He's kind of been bouncing the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So
he's a perfect guy for a below average category.
Ricky Seals-Jones.
I think so too.
Ricky Seals-Jones is one of those guys that will have like standout game, but then not have.
Has it
good
really had
overall
has it
seasons.
really had a standout game?
I mean, I know who he is, so obviously he's done something
I mean,
at some point.
I guess, but it also could be because he has a cool name, like Ricky Seals Jones. Ricky Seals Jones. I don't know.
So Ricky Seals Jones.
I did not know what team he played on when you said his name, so I feel like that has to go as a below average player.
I think so too. So he's been on. This is be his third team since 2017. He spent 2 years on the Cardinals, 17 and 18. Last year he was claimed Week 15 by the Cleveland Browns. Played in 3 games for them, 200 yards. In Arizona, he played more than 10 games both years. He had the most yards he had was 343. The most touchdowns was 3. I think below average is probably pretty good. I don't think you'll see a lot of playing time really with Travis Kelce.
No.
Breaking news. Bryce Harper wants to make the move into the Eagles next season.
Not happening.
I don't know. I could see it.
I could not. The Eagles are already Super Bowl contenders as it is. They don't need Bryce Harper.
You know what? They'd sign him
Why?
for the publicity and clout.
That clout is a powerful thing in today's world.
No,
Bryce Harper
Philadelphia would be the last team to sign him because the people in Philadelphia don't like Bryce Harper.
These are facts.
Sad.
Like, he would go to Dallas to piss off the Eagles before he would go to the Eagles.
I don't know about that because I think Bryce Harper values his life and he'll get killed if he signed with the Cowboys if he were to sign with the team. Again, why are we talking about this? He's not playing in the NFL.
I don't know.
Maybe he'll go to the Bears.
Said he wanted to. But yeah, I'm okay putting at Ricky Seals Jones and below. He is only 25 though, so he's got a lot of time to develop yet. I don't think we've seen the best of him, but especially being the number 2 tight end on the Chiefs, I don't necessarily know if he'll break out.
No, he won't.
Unless
he will literally be a backup the rest of his career, and that's okay because everyone needs a backup.
Unless Travis Kelce gets injured or he had that little moment last season where he had fumbles in back-to-back games, and that gets worse. I don't think he'll get a starting job
No,
there.
Travis Kelce could literally fumble once every single game this year, and he would still be the starting tight end without question for the Chiefs.
I mean, that's fair. But maybe they'll run just like 3 wideouts and 2 tight ends. Say, screw Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Maybe. But that brings up fumbles, reminded me of something very important that I was going to say and forgot to say about our boys Chris Carson. So somebody said that he had a case of the dropsies with his fumbles. He didn't fumble after week number 4. All his fumbles were in the first 4 weeks.
Interesting.
So I don't think that should have affected him. But back to this.
Well, you know who else doesn't have a case of the dropsies? Stephon Diggs.
That's very true. Unless you're Brendan and you're watching a delusional Stephon Diggs.
Unless you're just watching a different guy named Stephon Diggs, who's not the Stephon Diggs we are talking about.
That's fair. Next here we have Rams tight end Tyler Higbee.
Okay, so Tyler Higbee. Okay, so I really love the Rams tight ends that we have. I think Gerald Everett's better, but I still think that Tyler Higbee is an above average tight end. Or no, excuse me. I think Tyler Higbee's better than Gerald Everett. Excuse me, I meant to say that.
I think I'd agree with that.
I do think Tyler Higbee's better than Gerald Everett, and I do think Tyler Higbee is an extremely underrated tight end.
That's what I was going to say.
I'm sure everyone will disagree, but I think he's above average.
I'm going to say average, and this is why. If you know me, I'm typically a numbers person. He's missed one game.
Stop with okay, Ben, before you say anything about Tyler Higbee this year, he was injured this year. And Jared Goff was one of the most pressure quarterbacks in the NFL this year. He barely had any time to throw the football.
I know.
Just throwing that out there. Before you read the stats.
So he started 15 games, so he missed 1 for being injured.
Oh, maybe in the year before, but I don't know.
His rookie year in 2016, he only played 7. Actually, he's only missed one game his entire career, and that was this last year.
Oh.
He's played 16 games in every season.
Okay,
except the last one played 15.
Okay, this is gonna sound really stupid, but he got hurt in Madden for me, so maybe I guarantee that's what I was thinking about.
Oh my god.
That's an actual.
And you're telling me to separate my fictional life from reality?
I was gonna say actually, like that's literally what happened.
Whoa.
I got hurt for like 8 weeks in my Madden for like franchise mode. No, you're right. Tyler Higbee did play damn near every game this year. But the fact of the matter is Jared Goff was still one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the NFL last year. And Gerald Everett
That's true.
is a better receiving threat for me, but I think Tyler Higbee's the better all-around tight end.
So Tyler Higbee, he missed one game this year. He ended with 734 yards on 69 receptions. That's about 10 yards per catch.
Which is solid. Having 2 tight ends on your
3
team.
touchdowns.
2 really good tight ends on your team.
So I am gonna say average, and that's just because his numbers are pretty solid. 700 yards. 10 yard per catch is for tight ends. Only 3 touchdowns. I think he will be better this year, and I think he's better than Joe Everett too. But I think he's still just an average tight end.
I think he's one of the most underrated tight ends in football. No one just talks about him enough.
I agree. So here's why, right? Because if you look at targets, he's 7th in targets amongst NFL tight ends, 6th in receptions amongst tight ends, 7th amongst yards and tight ends. And then I think the only thing that brings him down really necessarily is his yards per whatever, and then the touchdowns, because he's not that touchdown guy.
No, Gerald Everett's more of the touchdown threat for me.
But that's why I'd put him at above average, just because he ranks in the top 10 in
every major statistical category for a tight end.
Except for touchdown.
I'm okay with him going above average.
I would agree with above average. I've always liked Tyler Higbee, and I thought he's kind of been one of the more underrated tight ends in the NFL. Although it seems like tight end is just kind of an underrated position unless you're at the top.
Oh, I agree with that statement 100%, Brendan. Next we got his counterpart, who isn't as good as him by any accounts of the stretch here.
But his story
Everett
is really good.
Right, but a story does not make the player better in all instances.
I can dream, Duncan.
You can dream. I say average, though.
I am going to say below average. And this is why.
No, he's not below average.
He only started 2 games last year. He played the 13, started 2.
Yeah, because Tyler Higbee's the starter.
I know.
Sean McVay doesn't run a lot of 2 tight end approach. Continue with your diluted numbers.
Let me finish, okay? He 408 yards over. He played 13, started 2, which is pretty good. He had a higher yards per reception than Tyler Higbee. He had 11. 2 touchdowns, which he only started 2 games. I think is okay. But I think 1, he's gonna be playing behind Tyler Higbee, who's gonna be better this year. And 2, if the Rams don't run 2 tight end sets a lot, like it proves by him only starting 4 games over 3 years, he's not gonna see a lot of playing time. Then he's not an average tight end. Especially I think Goff is still going to be one of the most pressured quarterbacks this year, so I don't think that's going to help him either.
I still think he's average because I've seen him play, and I like Gerald Everett a lot. I think he's a big body guy who's a really good blocker, which is an underrated aspect in tight ends. I don't know. I just think I think just because he sits behind Tyler Higbee, that's his only. But I don't think it makes him any less of a talented football player. I definitely think he's average at the very minimum.
So my thing is that he is the backup tight end. He's not utilized as often as he should be. And because he's not as utilized, I think that I'm okay with either below average or average, because I see his average and his frankly above average potential that he has on some plays. But then I also see where he can be ranked as below average because he doesn't get that chance.
I say average.
I'm going to say average because I'm pretty sure that eventually he will, get to roam free here. And then when that does happen and he won't be stuck behind somebody, in theory, then he'll prove that he is above average, if not elite.
Average. He's also a solid route runner for a tight end.
Okay. Next here we have Kyle Rudolph.
Above average. Easy.
I'd agree with that statement.
It shouldn't even be a debate.
Average.
Why is he average? What makes you think he's average?
Because he wasn't a very, very important part of their offense last year. I don't think he'll be this year.
What do you mean he wasn't? He was still the best tight end on that team last year.
He played 16 games and had 30 receptions for 300 yards. They obviously didn't utilize him. He had a lower catch rating than both Higbee and
because look at what the offense they were running. They were a run first offense. They still have Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen on that team. Just because he has one down year, the reason the Vikings drafted Irv Smith is, well, in theory, was so they wouldn't have to pay Kyle Rudolph in the future. They extended him anyway. No, Kyle Rudolph is still an elite red zone threat. He's not going to be the guy to give you like big time like yardage or whatever, but he's still an elite red zone threat. He is an elite blocker at the tight end position. It's just he's just not going to put up as flashy numbers as tight ends, but it doesn't take away from his above average talent.
I think Smith is going to be more involved in offenses here. I just don't think at his age he is still an above average tight end.
That was Kyle Rudolph.
It doesn't matter if you love him; it's better on how good he is. And at this age, I don't think he's above average.
I definitely think he's above average. I still see a lot of times where Kyle Rudolph is like, damn, Kyle Rudolph is really good. Like I said, Kyle Rudolph is probably one of the best red zone tight ends in the NFL.
So that was actually my only reason for having him above average is his red zone, end zone abilities. But I definitely see Ben's argument. He isn't the guy to be used all that much, and I don't see him being used as used even less this year.
Guys, they use him in other ways other than just him catching a football. Like, he's an elite blocking tight end. Like, that is an underrated aspect of the tight end position that no one talks about.
Yeah, but you can be a good blocking tight end and not a good tight end.
What? No, what are you talking about? Okay, what? So he's an elite blocking tight end. So he doesn't put up as flashy of numbers because he's getting older. He may not be as fast or whatever. But I don't know. I think when he's elite at some things at the tight end position, I think that warrants an above average play. He was used more than Irv Smith. I can promise you that much. And we were all talking just highly about him a second ago. No, he was still better than Irv Smith last year. And I still think they're going to end up using Kyle Rudolph more because I think he's going to be better for what they want to do next year. Unless Dalvin Cook sits out, that'll put a damper on plans. But above average. So what he doesn't put up, 1,000-yard seasons or even 20 or 10 plus touchdown seasons a year. A solid performing tight end who does what's needed to be done, and he does it at a damn good level.
But that's the thing. You said he's solid. He's not at this point in his career. I don't think he's all that special.
I don't think so either. I think he's average. I think he will be a good piece for the Vikings, and you still use him as a good red zone, but he's not above average.
I think he's above average. How many tight ends would you take over Kyle Rudolph right now? Realistic.
A lot.
Let me look here.
No. You say a lot, but actually give me names. So let's get the obvious ones out of the way. Travis Kelce,
Zach Ertz, George Kittle,
and George Kittle.
O.J. Howard, Jared Cook, Hayden Hurst.
I would not take Hayden Hurst over Kyle Rudolph.
I would.
DJ Uzomah,
Eric Ebron. To be honest with you.
Darren Waller,
Evan Ingram,
Hunter Henry.
I would not take
Hunter Henry,
Jack
Doyle, Darren Fells.
See, you guys forget they're just going to put up better numbers. But I think in terms of guys who I would actually want on my football team, I would take Kyle Rudolph over a lot of guys on this list.
Delaney Walker.
Yeah, I really have Delaney Walker too.
I think Delaney Walker's underrated. I also think he's above average.
Irv Smith Jr.
No, I would take. Well, Irv Smith Jr. isn't even seeing a lot of playing time right now. So
yeah, but I know what his talent is. I would rather have him.
Yeah, and I also know what fucking Kyle Rudolph's talent is, dog.
I'm hoping the Patriots try to take Irv Smith Jr. because of the stuff going on with Rudolph's extension.
Rudolph is ranked the 13th best. Let me read this here.
So I counted 16 tight ends I would take over him. So and
I think that number is just way too high. I think you're just doing that because you're falling for the numbers and just doing guys just to prove your point. Let's see. So I would take the 3 elite guys. OJ Howard's gonna get beat out, but I would probably take for a receiving threat. OJ Howard's probably a better option. I wouldn't take Gronk at this point. I don't know what I'm getting with Gronk this year. I would take Zach Ertz, obviously. I would probably take Dallas Goedert over Kyle Rudolph. I think Dallas Goedert and Kyle Rudolph are very similar players. They both are very good at red zone targets, 2 very good blocking tight ends, which is what makes Dallas Goedert Dallas Goedert can be a number 1 tight end on a lot of football teams right now. He just happens to play behind an elite tight end in Zach Ertz.
I agree.
What about Evan? Would you take Evan Ingram over Rudolph?
I think Evan Ingram is a borderline receiver. I think he's a tall receiver, and I would take Kyle Rudolph because I think he does other aspects of the tight end position better than Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram is just.
What about Eric Ebron?
Eric Ebron?
Yeah.
I would take Kyle Rudolph because I think Eric Ebron has had only a couple good year stretch with the Colts. He could be really good with Big Ben this year, but we don't know for sure yet.
What about Hunter Henry?
Hunter Henry's an elite tight end. I would take him over Kyle Rudolph Easily.
So it
What
seems
about
like
Jack Doyle?
Jack Doyle, I would take Kyle Rudolph.
So it seems
Evan,
like
ooh.
there's a lot that you'd take over him. So PPF or PFF, I don't know why I keep saying PPF, but PFF ranked him as the 13th best blocking tight end in the league.
That is dumb, but whatever.
So
his best stat, he's middle of the pack in.
yeah,
So he's
sounds
average. Sounds
I-
average.
I think he's above average.
And I think
So would-
Stephon Diggs is below average, but that doesn't
Well,
make
see,
either of
okay,
those
but that's
true.
wrong on a lot of people's standards.
where would you put him? Brendan?
I said average.
Average.
I was
average,
about
okay.
to exercise my right to not vote, but then Ben made a compelling argument that made it seem like my argument was that my thought process on this was okay.
Okay. Jimmy Graham.
Below average.
Hey, that's 3 below averages. Brendan, are you gonna just
I
argue
think
for that
Jimmy
elite?
Graham is still average. I think.
No.
Whatever.
If Kyle Rudolph
Okay.
is average, Jimmy Graham's below average. And even if Kyle Rudolph was above average, Jimmy Graham is still below average.
Whatever. I guess. I still think average.
I like Jimmy Graham, but Jimmy Graham's a middle of the pack guy. He's nothing special in my mind.
I
That
think
wouldn't
he's-
put him in below average, then that would put him in average.
I think he's a bum. I think he's a straight up bum.
Well, he's gonna make another guy that you think is a bum look like a fucking MVP this year. So
Mitch Trubisky?
yeah,
Fuck off. Yeah, fuck off. First off, Jimmy Graham isn't even that good of a tight end anymore. And how is he going to get catches when Mitchell Trubisky misses the throws to him a shit ton?
because he's not going to.
What? Just stop. But what? There's nothing.
It's just not gonna
about
happen.
Mitchell Trubisky that shows, he could get better. No, he's gotten worse. Mitchell Trubisky and Jimmy Graham are bums. They are the perfect duo because they are a bum duo. They are bums.
Next we got TJ Hawkinson. I think he's a little, just because of how young he is, I don't think that he's close. I think he's getting closer to his potential, but I don't think he's necessarily anything above average at this point.
No, I
yeah,
don't know.
I'm going to say average too. So he played 12, started 7 games last year for him. He had 367 and 2 touchdowns. 131 of his 367 came on his first game, and so did one of his touchdowns. So if you would exclude his first debut game, he averaged about 19 yards a game, and he had 1 touchdown, and then over 10. That's 0.1 touchdowns a game. I think he has potential. I know I'm a little biased. I'm not a huge fan of the Detroit Lions offense. I know they obviously last year they were stifled because they didn't have Matt Stafford. I think average is a fair place to put him right now, but I think in the future, because he's so young, he has potential to be higher.
Yeah,
I'd agree. Next we have Jace Sternberger. Would you like to inform us on who this is, Ben?
Yeah, so he was a 3rd-round pick for us last year in the 2019 draft. Coming out of Texas A&M, he's the 2nd most reception yards of tight ends in the draft and the most touchdowns. Sadly, he was placed on injured reserve at the beginning of last season. I think he came off in December, but at that point he didn't actually play. I've heard really good things on him from the Packers organization. I know Aaron Rodgers loves him, but obviously he has not played an NFL game yet. So, I mean, you could maybe say average or below average. I really couldn't argue either way. I think he has the potential.
I'll just say below average due to lack of knowing what we're going to get, but I'm sure Aaron Rodgers will make him look average at the very minimum, I'm sure. But we'll put him at above below average for now. At least that's how I view him.
Yeah, which is fair. And I think he has potential to be better this year, but obviously he has never played in the NFL, so you really can't.
Right.
I think it's great that you brought him up for us to talk about on this show, but I would agree with Noah. He's probably going in below average, but that might be a spot that we look at next year and we're like, oh, wow, were we wrong?
Right.
Next we have a tight end possibly on his way out, possibly staying. Who knows at this point with O.J. Howard?
Above average. Easy.
Above average.
I think he has the potential to be above average, yeah.
I agree. I especially question what they're going to do with him and Gronk this year. They could do some wild things or they could totally just fuck up, but who knows?
Hey,
I
random
could see-
question.
Yeah.
Cameron Brate.
Is he on our list?
Whatever happened to him?
He's still on the Bucs,
I mean,
I think.
I think
Like-
with he's still in the Bucks. So I think what's going to be interesting with OJ Howard and Gronk though is I could see OJ Howard coming in necessarily not as a relief, but I don't see Gronk playing like every single snap this year. And
Oh, no.
obviously he's older and he hasn't played football in a while. But I think they'll be able to probably utilize OJ Howard as a second tight end.
And that's the prime reason why I think they kept him. It's just for relief for Gronk, because Gronk won't be the same player he was in his elite years. And that's fine. That's what happens when you get older and not play football in a year. And on top of that, getting hurt a lot. But that's okay. Brady's favorite target ever. So he'll get some numbers, but he just can't be the guy you rely on play after play. And that's fine.
Speaking of Gronk,
Next is the former 24/7 7-Eleven I-95 Midwest South Sioux Falls City African American West of America placeholder FIFA trophy winner 24/7 champion of the world Rob Gronkowski.
Average.
I'm going to hit Rob Gronkowski with the rookie rule because he sat out a year, and his time on the Patriots in a, beautiful system is essentially just like college 2.0 because anybody can look good on the Patriots with a prime Tom Brady.
With Tom Brady.
But can he look great on the Bucks with an after prime Tom Brady? That's the question.
I'm gonna say average because he's getting up there in age. He was it 1 or 2 years moved from football?
Been a year and a half since he played a football game.
So I think he will probably get better as the season progresses, but I think especially at the beginning of the year, I have no idea what to expect for that Tampa offense. I think Tom Brady's going to be this year. I don't think he's going to blow people's minds in Tampa, but I think average is still a fair spot to put Gronk.
I could make an argument. Okay, so it's very interesting with Gronk. I could put him at below average. I really could, but I feel like the name power alone is enough to put him at at average. But I could really make a case for below average. I could. But I could also make a case for average. So whatever you guys want to do.
I'll go with average just because he's Gronk. He's the former 24/7 7-Eleven I-95 South Sioux Falls City.
Oh my God.
Blah, blah, blah. He's the former 24/7 champion. I can't doubt him less than average.
I think one reason why you can put him in average is because obviously Tom Brady's in a new system, but Tom Brady and Gronk, it's Tom Brady and Gronk. Tom Brady's going to throw to Gronk, especially not knowing his new receivers, especially not being in tune with his new receivers as he probably is with Gronk. I think Gronk's going to get a ton of targets.
Oh, yeah, no, he will, and that's why they brought him there. That's why Brady convinced Gronk to come out of retirement. It's obviously Gronk will put up numbers. I don't doubt that by any means. It's just I just don't know what I'm getting with Gronk at this point in terms of the injuries, him being in football.
I can see that.
And that's just
another
it.
Thing
I don't know what I'm getting with Gronk. And the thing is with Gronk is something I worry about his in-game shape because it's like you can work out and stuff, but it's different than being in-game shape, not playing football in a year and a half and not even doing he's been doing WWE stuff. He was doing a lot of on-air personality stuff. And he's just been doing so many things outside of football and especially with no mini camp or training camp or potentially none of that, or at least a shortened version of it. I think it's going to be more of his in-shape ability and his health, obviously. In terms of connection with Brady, I don't worry about that at all. So he'll get his numbers in that regard. It's just not knowing what I'm going to get out of Rob Gronkowski in terms of his health and his ability.
Right.
So one reason why I want to make the main argument for Gronk being at least average is Gronk at the same time being one of, the greatest receiving threats on the NFL field was also one of the best blockers when it came to things
he's
in his prime, obviously. So I think
in MLB history, NFL history.
Yeah, I think even if he may not be as fast and may not able to jump as high, because those are things that I could see he definitely could have lost during his time off. I think he'll still be able to throw some blocks that'll put him at least in the average category.
And that's the thing, I don't know about that either because, you lose all that muscle weight and you lose, all those fundamentals. It may take some time to kind of get back in the flow of that, And obviously,
fine.
I'm sure he will be, and I could be wrong, but those are just things too. It's he's got to learn those fundamentals again. He's got to get all that muscle back, and which again he easily could. But those are just things of unknown for me with Rob Gronkowski.
Right. Moving on here, Jared Cook. I'm gonna say elite.
Jared Cook.
But
I won't say elite,
I'm gonna
but I
back
would
you
say
up.
above average.
Yeah, I would say above average too. Okay. Yeah, above average.
I'm going to back Duncan up. I think he's elite. I think him being on the Saints has been kind of great for him, and he will put up monster numbers.
Then in that regard, we should put Gronk elite because he'll probably put up some good numbers with Tom Brady. He's gotta.
I think above average for Jared Cook, and I just think I have no doubt he'll put up a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
with the Saints, but I just don't think he is in that quite elite category. I don't think he's on the same level as a George Kittle, a Zach Ertz, or a Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Last year, he did have a good year last year, 700 yards. He's played in 14 games, started 12. He's similar. I don't know. He had okay numbers, but just not elite numbers. And I don't think, he is another guy who is getting a little up there in age. I don't think at this state in his career he is an elite tight end.
Yeah, I agree with every single word Ben said and then some. There's nothing that Jared Cook does at this point in his career that's elite. But would I take him over a lot of tight ends in the NFL right now? You bet your ass I would. Above average for me.
Above average.
Okay. See, the way I look at it, though, is I think he's better than both tight ends in the above average category. And while he may not be George Kittle or Zach Ertz or Travis Kelce, I think he's definitely up there along with a guy we haven't got to yet, Mark Andrews. I think they're definitely up there in the conversation for the elite category just based on who we're going to have in the above average.
Other tight ends is more elite than Jared Cook. Like there's like at least 3 that I can think of that I consider elite that are better than Jared Cook. So I don't know. It's just not it for me. I just think he is a really good tight end, not elite though, and that's fine because he's a really good above average tight end.
Yeah, and I think he's the best above average. He might be one of the best above average tight ends.
He'll definitely be one of the best.
But where I think he is more comparable though to like an OJ Howard or a Tyler Higbee on his production. Like again, he's one of the better above average, but I feel like the elite tight ends are such a higher step than
like to say he's elite is like I don't know. I just say the word elite. It's just like you look at this guy and people are like he's undisputed one of the best tight ends in the league, and I don't think anyone looks at Jared Cook like that. At least I don't. At least me and Ben clearly don't.
I'll concede on that one just for time's sake. Hayden Hurst.
Average. I think Hayden Hurst is solid. I think he'll have a chance to put up some really good numbers with Matt Ryan this year.
I think that Hayden Hurst's move to Atlanta is going to show very fruitful for his numbers.
I agree.
I don't want to take a gamble as much as to say, like, put him in that above average category because, like, I just don't know. He's been a third string on Baltimore for so long. It's hard to say, but I think he has the potential to bump himself up into above average.
Especially playing with a guy like Matt Ryan too. Like me and one of my friends talk about this. Matt Ryan gets a lot of kind of unnecessary hate.
Yeah.
Because Matt Ryan is still a really solid quarterback in the NFL. And, he developed Austin Hooper in the tight end that he did. There's no reason he can't do that with Hayden Hurst. Like, obviously, Austin Hooper is better than Hayden Hurst. But, I certainly don't doubt that they can put up some numbers together, as a duo.
Right.
But I would still say average, but I would say average for now, just because, like I said, he's been a backup / third string for a few years now. So this will be his first, thing as a starting tight end, but I think he has the potential to move up into above average, certainly.
Yeah, I think average is fair for him.
All right. Next we got Ian Thomas, Carolina Panther.
He's going to be the starter, I would assume now, right?
He is listed as their starter.
What's that? Is that a yes?
Yeah, he's their starter. I just checked their depth chart. He is their starting tight end.
I'll agree with what majority is. I don't really know what to expect from him. I mean, I think Teddy Lake's awesome.
I think just like we put Jay Sternberger, I think we should probably just put him in below, just because we haven't seen much from him.
Yeah,
I also haven't heard of him. I've heard of Jay Sternberger, but I haven't heard of Ian Thomas.
To be honest, either. So I was glad you said he was on Carolina, because I was like, who?
So actually, Ian Thomas has played 2 full seasons in Carolina. Last year, he hasn't started a full season as a starter, but he's played the full season. Last year, he played 16 games.
No! Breaking news here in the SighSquadPod studio. John, who is that? Brandon Brooks just tore his ACL for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's out for the year.
Oh, my goodness.
Sorry, tore his Achilles. I'm sorry. Tore his Achilles, out for the year.
Holy shit.
The Eagles' injuries have started.
Yeah. Honestly.
But anyway, back to tight ends.
Oh, man, that's
so Ian Thomas, he's played all 16 games. He only started 3, 130 yards, 1 touchdown, 8.5 yards per reception. I think below average is fair because again, I'm not sure what we're gonna get. If he starts the whole year, I don't know. I'm not I know the Panthers' passing offense hasn't been great the last 2 years. I think it will improve with Teddy Bridgewater, but I'm not sure if Ian Thomas is going to be
Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy loves him some tight ends. Kyle Rudolph's best statistical year was when Teddy Bridgewater was on the Minnesota Vikings. That was when he was considered an elite tight end. And then Jared Cook was one of the best scoring tight ends in that 5-game stretch when Teddy Bridgewater was in there. So, I mean, Teddy can make him look good. Teddy loves him a safety valve at the tight end position. But just for unknown purposes, below average.
Yeah, I think below average, too.
Perfect.
Okay, well, this next guy should be no debate. So,
this next guy is definitely also below average. My favorite fantasy football tight end, Zach Ertz.
Elite.
Yeah.
Okay, that was easy.
Wow, that was so hard. This next guy I'm super, super, super high on, and maybe it's because he's a South Dakota State kid, but I just like him a lot.
I do too. PFF loves Dallas Goedert. PFF considers this guy a top 10 tight end in football, and for every reason I agree with it. Yes.
I think he'd be, if he wasn't behind Zach Ertz, if Zach Ertz was not the guy there, he would be the number one guy hands down.
Oh, I 1,000% agree with you. And of course, we're talking about Dallas Goedert. He is an above-average tight end in this league.
Yeah, I think above average is fair for him.
Yeah.
Perfect. I thought there was going to be a little bit of a debate there.
And honestly, if he was a number one tight end, like on a team, he would be an elite tight end. But because he's behind already an elite tight end, he just doesn't get as many chances. But he gets a lot of chances with Philadelphia. He shines for Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think above average is fair too because I'm looking at it from a number standpoint. As a number 2, he had comparable numbers to Jared Cook and Tyler Higbee last year. Well, just under 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. He had a good year as a number 2.
And he is an elite blocking tight end too. He's actually probably one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah, I would say he's a lot better than than Kyle Rudolph at blocking.
Oh, yeah, he definitely is. He's probably, I bet PFF had him damn near top 3, if not number 1 or 2.
I believe it. But sometimes you got to take these PFF things with a grain of salt.
Well, right.
They
Even though I do
guys
with a lot of stuff. But yeah, I agree. You got to take it with a grain of salt.
Next we got the Cowboys tight end, Blake Jarwin.
What do you guys think?
I think borderline average.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of Blake Jarwin. I don't think he was ever really given the best chance to shine. I know Dak loves him, and he had if I remember, I think Dak Prescott targeted him quite a bit his first year in the league. But then obviously Jason Witten said, I want to come back. And Dallas was like, sure, you can come back. So I don't know. I could put him at average. So I think because I know you guys want to talk about potential. So if we're going to do that, I definitely think average is a good spot for him, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. So 2019, so he's had 3 years. He didn't play his first year. His second year was Last year was his best year. He's played in all 16, only started 7 games, 41 targets, 31 receptions, 365 and 3 touchdowns. I think he's average this year.
Jason Witten is Dak Prescott's favorite targets. I mean, I think having Jason Witten there, even though he didn't perform at his absolute best, still took away from what Blake Jarwin could have been. It definitely stunned his growth a lot.
I'd agree.
In my opinion.
All right. Next we got Jeremy Sprinkle. Don't know who this guy is, to be honest with you.
Jeremy Sprinkle. He's a pretty sweet tight end.
He plays for who?
Redskins.
Oh, I've actually heard a couple good things about Jeremy Sprinkle. I mean, I don't know. Wherever you guys decide to put him.
So, numbers real quick. Played all 16, started 9 last year. 5 receptions, 40 yards, 1 touchdown.
Oh, okay. Maybe his name's just cool.
Maybe, yeah, I think below average. Is he their starter?
He's probably gonna have to be, with now Jordan Reed out.
No, yeah, he's their starter as of right now.
Yeah.
Oh, but they also have Richard Rodgers.
What's that?
They also have Richard Rodgers.
Really?
Yeah.
Richard Rodgers, I liked a little bit with the Packers, but
yeah, I think too.
Rodgers liked him a lot. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after he caught that Hail Mary, I'm sure Rodgers loved him.
I'm sure.
Who's next?
Evan Engram.
Above average. He's an elite receiving tight end.
I want to put him in elite.
I do not.
I want to put him in above average.
I do too.
Yeah, above average.
I think he's one of those players that is probably going to get inflamed stats in comparison to everybody else. Because right now, Daniel Jones can only throw it to like basically 3 people, and he's probably the top of the list for him.
Yeah.
And the third person, Saquon.
So his numbers are kind of skewed because obviously the Giants had one of the worst offenses last year. He played 8, started 6. Injuries, he hasn't played a full season yet in his career.
Ooh.
44 receptions, 400 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Ooh. Those numbers were not as good as I thought they were.
No, his best season was his rookie year where he started 11 games for 700 yards, or he played 15, started 11 for 700, but he's had 500 and 400 yards the last 2 years.
Oh. I almost want to put him at average after hearing that. Ew. Why did I think he had put better numbers?
I thought he did too. I think it's just what he does. I don't know.
And it's hard because obviously...
the thing with Evan Ingram is he's a really small for a tight end. He's basically just a tall receiver.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 240, so he's not huge.
For tight end standards.
Yeah. I think he has a lot of promise in his rookie year. I think staying healthy seems to be the main concern with him.
Right.
Because
he's quite good.
Yeah, and he's only started 25 games over the last 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. Above average for me.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with it. I think he has the potential to be above average.
Nice. Okay, next we have Nick Boyle here. I'd put Nick Boyle at borderline below average.
Nick Boyle. Who does he play for again?
Ravens.
He's on the Ravens.
Below average, because I didn't know that.
What?
That's fair.
I know who Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews were. I don't remember who Nick Boyle was.
Well, Hayden Hurst was the 3rd string.
Well, I think Hayden Hurst. Well, then I don't know.
Ben, reveal the stats.
No, they're not that good. Just warning you.
So Nick Boyle played. Here, 1 second. It's still loading. So last year in 2019, he played all 16 games, had 30 receptions, 300 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
That is not that good.
I told you wouldn't be impressed.
I still think that Nick Boyle goes in average category.
So. He's only missed 1 game in the last 3 years, but 300 yards was his most yards of the last 3 years. And he's only scored 2 touchdowns. Actually, his 2 touchdowns this last year was only 2 in his career over 5 years.
Oh, career year for him.
Yeah.
Career year.
Maybe I'm getting Nick Boyle and Jack Doyle mixed up.
I did at first.
Well, I know that they're separate people, and I know that Jack Doyle is way better than Nick Boyle, but I thought that Nick Boyle did something cool. Apparently not. He's just on the Ravens.
He's just a guy on the Ravens.
Maybe he's good at blocking. Who knows? Ooh. Ready for some controversy?
I'm ready for some controversy.
Mark Andrews, elite tight end.
100% agree with Frank.
Be elite. Be elite. Yeah, I agree with that.
Pretty much only putting Mark Andrews there because he was the crutch of my fantasy team last year.
Well, he was the big crutch of the Baltimore Ravens too. He is so good, dude. He's probably Lamar's favorite target. I would say. I think Hollywood Brown has a chance to really blow up this year. But Mark Andrews, dude, really good. Love that guy.
The thing that I feel like Mark Andrews really brings to the table in comparison to Hollywood Brown is sure, Hollywood Brown's a really great receiver. He's really fast. Yeah. But when it comes to, the red zone, who are you going to throw it to? The fast, shorter end of the scale?
You're going to throw big boy Mark Andrews, that big, tall tight end in Mark Andrews.
Right. You ready for some controversy, part 2?
Yes.
Hooper.
Austin Hooper. Elite tight end.
100% agree with you, Brendan.
I strongly disagree. I think going to the Browns is one of his worst mistakes.
I think it will make Baker good.
I think he's better than David Njoku. I think he's going to be great. I
really like David Njoku too.
I think he's above average.
I think he's elite.
I was going to say average.
Falcons put him in the category, and he's going to be the best tight end on the Cleveland Browns. And what he does next year, don't care. I could say that about maybe George Kittle has a bad year. Who knows? What I know about Austin Hooper, from everything I've seen with Atlanta, elite tight end. Because you get out of that like George Kittle, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce. There's a lot of guys you can throw in there from that 4, 5, and 6 category. Austin Hooper deserves to be in that mix of the category.
I think he's above average, but if you look at the people in the elite category, Kittle, Ertz, Andrews, and we'll probably put Kelce there. I don't think he's on the same level as those guys. His production.
Comparable to Kittle and Kelce, but I still think he's elite.
I think production-wise, throughout his career, he's comparable to a lot of guys on above average. I personally think he's going to be worse on the Browns because I don't think the Browns are going to utilize him very well. I think David Njoku will probably still get more targets than him.
It's Believeland.
Kevin Stefanski loves to use that 2 tight end set. That's why they brought him in and decided to keep David Njoku. And I think he's better than David Njoku.
I think above average is a fair place to put him. I don't think he's elite.
I think he's elite.
Especially if Jared Cook is an elite, I think that.
Oh, I think he's easily.
Jared Cook
deserves above average as well.
I'm standing by. I think.
I'd rather have Jared.
I think he's a top 6 tight end.
I'd rather have.
You could argue he's a top
I'd rather
5.
have.
You're cut out.
Tight in the above average category.
I would take Hooper over Ingram, Tyler Higbee, OJ Howard, Jared Cook, and Dallas Goedert as of right now.
I don't think so. I don't think he's ever proven that he's better than any of those guys.
What?
Okay. I definitely think that he's up there. I just don't think he's quite elite yet. I think that he's definitely one of the top 2 or 3 on the above average. I just don't think he's elite quite yet. This season I think will be a big season for him to either completely move into that step or completely fall out.
It's the perfect safety valve for. So Ben, let's bring up Austin Hooper's numbers because I know Ben's a big numbers guy. Because I actually would like to hear his numbers throughout his career, not just from last year. Bring up his whole career, please.
Okay, 1 second, it's pulling up. I know I will start with last year because I do know those off the top of my head. He had 767 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is very comparable to Jared Cook, Tyler Higbee, and Dallas Goedert.
It has Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones and a big play quarterback.
So I got it pulled up here. Last year was his best year. His first year 270, his second year 520, his third year 660, and last year 787. Excuse me, 767, 787, 6 touchdowns. He didn't play all last year because he had the MCL strain, but he played 13 games.
He didn't play every game last year.
No,
he didn't play every game last year and was still the number 6 tight end in yards.
And that number would have went up for damn sure.
Yeah,
elite for me. And I think he's gonna flourish in Cleveland. I think he's gonna be such a perfect safety valve for Baker Mayfield, especially when OBJ decides to act up and he's just not into it. Bring in Austin Hooper, a guy that's going to be just a good reliable guy for Baker Mayfield. I expect Austin Hooper's catch numbers to be better than last year. Maybe not in terms of yardage, but his catch numbers are going to go up next year. I would be surprised if he leads the team in catches next year. I really wouldn't. And there's a reason that they brought him in while still having David Njoku. There's a reason for that.
I just think he's nowhere near on the same level any of the guys in elite, and that's why he's not elite. I think everybody in the league is on such a higher level than Austin Hooper.
Oh, I think he's comparable to Mark Andrews.
Well, and you actually made this argument earlier. When you hear Austin Hooper's name, you don't automatically think he's the cream of the crop, the best of the best. And that was your reason why Jared Cook wasn't elite. You don't go, ooh, Austin Hooper, that's the best tight end in the league right there. I mean, he may be even top 5, but with 32 starting tight ends, just the top 5 is elite. I don't think Austin Hooper's a top 5 tight end.
Well, because here's my thing. Because I know didn't you say above average for Mark Andrews?
Originally, but I looked at his stuff and I looked at his stats from last year.
But the fact that you looked at the name Mark Andrews and the fact the first thing you didn't think of was elite.
No, the second I looked him up, I realized he was elite. I thought he had lower numbers last year.
Right, but still, the fact that you just didn't know it, because you were saying that argument for Austin Hooper, if you look into Austin Hooper and how he plays in his numbers last year while missing a few games, that's pretty good. Like, those are some elite tight end numbers.
Well, he put up similar numbers to Tyler Higbee and Jared Cook, who also both didn't play a full last year.
Yep, but Tyler Higbee missed a game. He missed 1 game. Austin Hooper missed, 3 games? Right? 3 games he missed this year? Yeah, right. So on the pace that he was on, he probably would have had 900, close to 1,000 receiving yards.
So Austin Hooper is number 5 in average reception yards per game last year, averaging about 60.5 yards a game.
Ooh.
So if you take that times 3, you get an extra 180 yards. So that puts him just under the 1,000 mark,
which is an elite number. Which is some elite numbers for a tight end position.
I mean, the most receiving yards by a tight end last year was Travis Kelce, I believe, with 12.
I believe.
Yeah,
2.
1,200.
Which is insane.
Kittle was actually third with 1,053. That would jump him from 6th in yards to 4th in yards.
Right. And that's when you're getting in some elite, like your George Kittles, your Austin Hoopers, of course, your George Kittles, your Zappas. I mean, I don't know who the guy is in the top 3. But
I still think he's going to be worse than the Browns. I don't think Baker Mayfield. I think the Atlanta offense is better than.
Okay.
I think he's significantly better than David Njoku.
Well, not better than. I think Austin Hooper on the Falcons is going to be better than Austin Hooper on the Browns. I don't think the Browns offense is. I think the Browns offense is pretty much in shambles other than Nick Chubb.
What are you talking about? They made improvements to the offensive line. They have Nick Chubb. They're going to have Kareem Hunt for a full season. And they're going to have one of the best tight end duos in the NFL, and Austin Hooper and David Njoku. And more importantly, they made great improvements to the offensive line, which was their biggest issue last year. Because, again, Baker Mayfield was also one of the most pressured, one of the most stacked quarterbacks in the NFL last year. That is terrible for a sophomore quarterback.
So I found an interesting stat going back to Jared Cook, actually. So there's the stats per targets per game, right? Jared Cook is actually on the middle ground with only 4.5 targets per game in comparison to the 7 to 9 targets that a lot of your upper guys received, and still finished with 9 touchdowns and 700 yards.
Damn.
Interesting fact.
So if we compare the offenses real quick, Atlanta had the 4th best offense per yards per game, and the Cleveland Browns were bottom 10, or bottom 11.
Because if we're going to talk about what are they going to do next year? Cleveland's offense will be significantly better than next year. That I can promise.
I don't
Again,
think so.
they had one of the worst offensive lines in football last year. They had OBJ, who wasn't all there last year. Now, and he may not this year. You can give me that, and I would probably understand that. But no, offensive line got better. They have an actual head coach in Kevin Stefanski. So there's a culture change in there, which could help OBJ a lot. I think this team offense is going to be significantly better from last year. And if that's what we're talking about, what are they going to do next year? I think Austin Hooper is going to be a key focal point to that Browns offense next year.
I am standing to my above average guns.
And I'm standing to my elite guns.
You know what that means?
It's going to the polls.
It's going to the polls, folks, on SighSquadPod's Twitter. You can go vote on that. Is Austin Hooper's elite, or is he above average? I don't know. You'll tell us. But Christian may have just got challenged by Randy Orton for an unsanctioned match, which would be wild. But next we got David Njoku.
I think is above average.
I again agree with Noah. I think David Njoku is above average.
I agree that he's above average as well. Eric Ebron.
What do you guys
Above
think?
average.
Okay,
I think above average. I am worried though that with him going to the Steelers, that is either going to help him or it's going to hurt him, and it's not going to make him stay the same. Because on one hand, you might get a Big Ben, you might get a Mason Rudolph. There's no
because honestly,
I just don't know. I don't trust that offense very much personally.
And the only thing I don't trust on that offense right now, which is ironic because he's been the most reliable thing for Pittsburgh for a damn near 2 decades now, is I just don't know what kind of Big Ben I'm getting. And I think that's going to matter of what Eric Ebron we're going to get in terms of this year. But in terms of the actual talent, which is what I'm basing it on based on this list, because sometimes you can't help the situation that a player is in, I think Eric Ebron is an above-average tight end talent.
So that's above average. Where were you at, Ben?
I'm going to say I originally thought above average, but now that when I really said above average, I forgot he's on the Steelers, not the Colts now. I I'm worried about Big Ben too, and I thought he was going to retire after last year after his last injury, but I don't know. I think average is a fair place to put Eric Ebron right now. He's been, I mean, he was not very good on the Lions, but he had one good year on the Lions, and he had one good year in Indy.
Yeah, the reason we're having this discussion of where he is right now is because of his time in the Colts. If he was still in the Lions, he would be below average because he was on pace to do that with with Detroit.
Yeah. And because his 2 years in Indianapolis, the first one obviously was his good year, 750 yards, 13 touchdowns. But last year he was hurt, only played 11, only started 2 games, 375 and 3 touchdowns. I think average is a fair place to put him just because I'm not sure about that Steelers offense. I'm not sure about Big Ben, and I'm not sure how Eric Ebron's going to fit because he obviously didn't fit in Detroit.
Honestly, I'm going to switch mine to average because I'm kind of going to go based off we don't really know what Eric Ebron is yet. We got one really solid year, an injured year, and his bad time in Detroit. Other than that, we just don't know what we're going to get with Ebron. So I might change mine to average now that I'm kind of thinking about it.
I'm also going to move to average. I mean, I like Eric Ebron, and I think that he can
the potential is really good.
I think he has a lot of upside, but I definitely think that if you look at it just by what we have for stats and stuff, we have to put him at the average.
Next here we have his counterpart in Vance McDonald. I'd say I'd put him average, borderline below at this point.
I'm at the same spot as you there, Duncan, because it's like Vance McDonald started out being like huge in San Francisco way back when. I don't know if y'all even remember that. And then gets traded.
McDonald farming the heck out of that Bucks player.
Then he gets traded. Then it just seemed like in Pittsburgh there was always somebody taking that starting role from him. I mean, we saw Jesse James do it. I mean, last year he was the starting guy, but now Eric Ebron's coming in. I don't know.
So I'm gonna make a case for below average, and this is why. His best year was with Pittsburgh. He played 4 years on San Francisco. His best year was 391 yards. 2018 with Pittsburgh, 50 receptions, 600 yards, and 4 touchdowns. But he has never played a full season in his career, which is like going on 7 years now. Last year he played 14 games with only 273 yards and 3 touchdowns. Below average.
I'm not mad at that. I can live with that.
Sorry, Vance.
CJ Uzomah.
Who is
above average? CJ Uzomah is the starting tight end on the Bengals. Oh, no, he's the second string. Never mind.
Okay.
If I'm thinking of the right guy.
No, he's the Bengals. You're right.
Good. He is very clutch. I think when you bring in a Joe Burrow instead of Andy Dalton, he's going to put up numbers. He did not put up numbers this year, so I know he's not going to get anywhere close to where I'm hyping him up at, but I'm putting some respect on CJ Uzomah's name.
I'm going to say below. And this is why. Last 2 years over Cincinnati, he played every game the last 2 years. 2018, 400 yards for 3 touchdowns. 2019, 240 yards for 2 touchdowns. He on 40 targets, he only caught 27 of them, which isn't a very good. I don't know. I don't have the actual percent in front of me. I know that's not very good though. He might have potential, but I don't think he is even an average starting tight end.
Sure.
So his catch rate was 67% last year, which isn't great.
I didn't know what team he was on. Below average.
That's fair, I guess. I mean, I definitely think he'll improve from last season with the addition of Joe Burrow and AJ Green playing and stuff. But, yeah. Next, we got my homeboy, Noah Fant.
Double A.
That's where I'm at. I think he's going to take another big step forward. I wouldn't say big, huge step, but I think he's going to take another step forward this year with an actual quarterback playing the whole season instead of old Joe Flacco playing and, not playing well.
I'm going to say average. I'm looking at he played all 16 games last year, 562 and 3 touchdowns. I think he has potential in the future to be higher, but I think just this next year he's going to be average.
Well, no. If anything, I think this next year he'll be a lot better. But
So
I'll put him at above average because he showed a lot of potential that is gonna really blossom with Drew Lock this year.
I do want to just mention something. Even though I'm still for the above average, I am worried that if the Broncos are thinking that they have 3 starting wide receivers on their team,
These are facts.
that Noah Fant might not get the numbers that you would expect out of an above average tight end.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about rookie quarterbacks or like young quarterbacks, which actually might even help Brendan's case for what's his nuts, but is sometimes
CJ
when you
Uzomah.
CJ Uzomah is for young quarterbacks that face pressure, they're young, they may not handle it as good as obviously the vets. They're going to need that safety valve, the guy they can trust on. And honestly, tight ends are some of the most reliable people you can throw to. So I could even see Noah Fant still putting up some solid numbers just because he'll be the perfect safety valve for a young quarterback. Even though they are going to have some big playability, this is still a Denver offensive line that could use some love, that could use some work. So it's like, you go up against a good defense like Duncan, who's on their schedule this year.
The Chiefs, the Titans, Patriots. Yeah.
So they'll have to go up at least Chris Jones, who's really good. So, but basically what I'm getting at is like when you're going to face any good pass rush, it's important to have a guy like that you can rely on, especially Noah Fant, who's a big, strong tight end. So, I'll say I'm okay with where we put him because he's still young, so it's like we don't know for sure what we're getting, but he has the potential to really blossom this year, I think.
So the other 2 defenses that the Broncos play this year is they play the Saints and they do play Buffalo.
And those are some really good defenses. I can promise.
Those are some defense.
Those are elite defenses right there.
Yeah, I still am gonna say average.
And I can't be mad at that. So I'm okay with wherever. So if majority's above average, I won't disrespect that.
Okay. Next we have Darren Waller.
That's the Daryl Muller. That's
Darren Waller is the Raiders tight end.
the Raiders guy. Yes, above average. Very, very good.
I'm gonna put him in elite.
Okay.
Because
Brendan.
he plays top 5 in yards and I think also in touchdowns.
Yeah.
Not touchdowns.
Not touchdowns?
No, just yards.
Well, he only had 3.
Oh,
Yep.
no.
PFF had him as a top 5 tight end this year, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
never mind.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I like.
he put up more yards than George Kittle, and he wasn't, incredibly far off of Travis Kelce, who led the league in yards. I would put him in elite.
I think he has to. Obviously, he didn't score a lot of touchdowns last year. I think that'll probably improve this year, though. I think elite's fair, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Travis Kelce, elite, BB elite.
Yes. What a silly question.
Okay. Next who do we have here? Is it Jason Witten? I feel bad disrespecting this guy, but
Jason Witten, you are a Hall of Famer. You're one of the best tight ends ever play, but you are below average, my friend, at this point.
Yup.
Again, no disrespect to what Jason Witten has done. He's a Hall of Famer in everyone's books.
He's Darren Waller's backup.
He is Darren Waller's backup.
Next we have Hunter Henry. I'd say above average for him.
I would say, I'll say elite, but if you guys say it's because of injuries, I can't disrespect that. But I think he's an elite tight end talent.
Quick thing before we move on. One thing about Jason Witten that I would like to mention is him being Darren Waller's backup is another reason why I think Darren Waller is going to be an elite tight end.
Because
he is an elite tight end.
One of the best tight ends to ever play the game.
Yeah.
Fair about Hunter Henry.
I will personally say elite, but he does have some injury issues. But when he plays, oh my God, is he good? He's damn good when he plays.
Yeah.
I'm going to say average 2. Again, he has not played a full season. In the seasons he do play, he hasn't put up amazing numbers over the games he's played, but he is a really good tight end. I think above average is fair.
Yeah, I want to put him in above average.
I definitely think that if he can stay healthy this next year, I think if the Chargers, once Justin Herbert gets there, I guess, starts playing, because I don't know if Tyrod Taylor's necessarily going to excel him into that elite right away. But I definitely think that Hunter Henry, give him not this next year, but the year after that, he'll definitely be elite.
I think he's already an elite talent. I just think it's just a matter of him staying healthy to prove it. But
Yeah, that's more so what I'm thinking.
Those injury issues are like a legit concern because he still has yet to play a full season.
Yeah, so I actually just did some quick math. If Hunter Henry would have stayed on pace and played the full season, he would have had 800 yards, 6 touchdowns, which I don't think is elite, but I think above average.
But keep in mind, I'll even say this about the Chargers last year. Phillip Rivers did not have his best year by any stretch of the word. But again, he was also one of the most sacked and most pressure quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think it's just hard, especially for a guy that age that can't keep plays alive in the pocket. And also for an LA team that also has an elite wide receiver core.
That's true. I'm not sure. I'm a little bit shaky on what Tyrod's going to do, and if and when Justin Herbert's going to play. So I'm not. I think about Rodgers scared for this next year.
Hunter Henry, he was a free agent last time I checked.
He is not a free agent. He's still with the Chargers.
Oh. Well, he was in the free agency, so
I don't even think he was a free agent this year.
No, he was.
They placed a franchise tag on him this year.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It was. Okay.
Okay, this next guy, Brendan, I'll let you hype him up.
So, before you hit him with the, never heard of him, therefore he goes in below average thing, Devin Asiasi, I probably did not pronounce that right, whatever. I like to call him some interesting nicknames that I don't want to bring up right now. Anyways, I'm going to hit him with the rookie role. He is the Patriots rookie tight end. He's going to, right now everything says he's going to be a starter. He has basically all of the run-of-the-mill, abilities that you should have at tight end. But on top of that, has really good hands. Really good at catching. But he will block. He can get some decent yak yards. I think that... Go ahead, Ben.
So he is not listed as their starter as of right now.
He's not.
No, Matt Lacoste?
Oh, Matt Lacoste.
Other rookie.
He's listed as their starter.
No, Matt Lacoste was there last year.
Oh,
Matt Lacoste sucks, though.
I know the Patriots drafted 2 tight ends this year.
Yeah, I don't remember the other dude's name.
Is it Dalton Keene was the other one they drafted?
Oh, yep. Yep.
He's their third string.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think Asiasi is going to show, oh, that was a cool video. I watched him hurdle somebody. I think Asiasi is going to click really well with Jarrett Stidham if he's the starter. And again, young quarterbacks getting pressured want to turn to their safety valve. I also just fully believe that Matt Lacoste sucks and will lose the starting job.
See, that's where I'm at. I think Matt Lacoste, I think he's going to lose it by game 1. I think that Asiasi is going to be the starter week 1 of football.
I do think we still have to put him below average, just because I think he's similar to Jay Sternberger, Ian Thomas, and Jeremy Sprinkle, where they're just rookies and we don't know what's going to go on with them.
I think he's average.
Below average. Nothing about him at UCLA impressed me. Below average. I think it was a reach for them to draft him as high as they did.
I think it was definitely drafted high. That's a given. But
yeah, not impressed with Ozzy. But also, this was not a very good tight end class this year.
That's fair. Next we have Dawson Knox, below average.
Yes. What team does he play for?
The Bills.
Below average.
Whoa. Average. Dawson Knox was actually a very key, guy when it came to the playoffs for the short playoffs for the Bills.
Right, for the one game.
But, towards the end of the season, Dawson Knox had a couple of games there that made him stand out, and then in the sole playoff game, he was one of those guys that kept him in it. I think, although Josh Allen barely throws the ball, I think he's definitely one of their main receiving targets, even with the addition of Stephon Diggs.
So I'd say that he's average. He does average 14 yards per reception, and he's decent. I think he's just gonna go up. He's young. It's only his second year in the league, right?
I'm going to make an argument for below average real quick.
Yeah.
Played 15 games, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. You mentioned the playoffs. He actually only had 1 reception for 14 yards in the playoffs. No touchdowns. Uh, 300 yards over 15 games, 2 touchdowns. I think it's below average.
But that's more than a lot of the people in the average category.
Actually, I think he actually. I think. Well, let me look real quick on. I think he only had more yards than Blake Jarwin.
Never mind. They're all like right around that 300 mark. No. Dawson Knox has more than Eric Ebron, TJ Hawkinson, Kyle Rudolph, Blake Jarwin, the next guy on our list, Vance McDonald, Uzumwa, although we put Uzumwa in the below average category. Sad.
I think him being on the Bills hurts him in a way, but I think he's definitely going to have an average year this upcoming year, at least.
Wherever you guys want to put him.
That doesn't work when we have... Wait, no, that would work, because then we have 2 versus 1. Okay. Because, I mean, I think he's better than everybody in the below average, and that's why I'd put him in the average category.
I just don't really know a whole lot about him.
I mean, he had like my site said that he has 388 yards and a couple of touchdowns.
388, 2 touchdowns. Started 11 games, played 15.
So last year was his rookie year, so that's might be why you don't know him all that well. He's from Mississippi.
Oh, ew. I'm interested about this next guy, though.
Wait, are we okay with him in average?
Yeah, it's fine. It's whatever.
Sure, why not?
Sure, yeah. Why not?
Noah, talk about the next guy here.
Yeah, I actually really like Mike Gesicki. I just think he just gets a bad rap because he plays for the Dolphins. That's all I gotta say about Mike Gesicki. I mean, I don't have his number in front of me, but I
do.
I like him.
If I put him at above average, will I get some bad heat for it? If I say above average,
I agree with you. So no,
okay.
I agree.
I think average.
Okay.
I have his numbers pulled up in front of me. Played all 16, only started 5 of them though. He did not have a good catch rating. He only caught 51 out of 89, which is a 57% catch, which isn't very good. 570 yards and 5 touchdowns. I think average is fair. I just don't think he's above average by any means.
What? Who's Miami's starting tight end then?
He is their starter. He was I think he was their starter.
Started 5 games then.
What?
You said he only started 5 games.
He only started 5 last year, but he played in all of them. I'm not sure who started the other ones for the Dolphins last year.
Because I always thought he just was the main guy there. Well, then, I mean, for only playing 5, then for only, not being the starter, I guess. I mean, 500 plus yards is pretty damn solid. I mean, I don't know. I always think anybody that plays for Miami gets a bad rap because they play for Miami. Because Miami has some talented players.
So the other guy to start last year for the Dolphins was Dwayne Allen.
Dwayne Allen. That's right.
I always forget about him.
I always do too.
Because I was high on him without much of a reason because I thought he did a lot better than he actually did last year. And then Dwayne Allen actually didn't start. It says Dwayne Allen didn't actually start in games for Miami. His stats say he only started 5 games. I'm not sure who else started. I'm trying to look it up right now.
Did Miami just literally start plays with no tight end? Like their first play of the game was just no tight end.
I think so. I'm looking at the depth chart from last year.
So bad they can't even start their tight ends properly.
I'm looking at the depth chart for last year, and Mike was the projected starter last year, but he only started 5 games.
That's weird.
It is weird. I just don't think. I mean, the real reason I'm not saying above average is his catch rate was horrendous. He only caught half the balls thrown to him. Now, to be fair, his quarterbacks were Rosen and Fitzpatrick, but I don't know. I think
because if you look at how many of those those are deep numbers that I just don't have time to look up. But how many of those throws were considered, accurate or like a catchable football? I think those that plays a big factor in that stat line as well. Even though it is a horrendous number, but I think there's so many other factors that go into that where it's kind of a blurred. Like it's not just black and white when it comes to that number. When it comes to that stat
I think
line.
so too. Because obviously the Dolphins did not have a good offense last year. I don't think the Dolphins will have a great offense this year. I think it will improve, but I don't think they'll have I don't think they'll have a top 15 offense this year. I think it'll be in the bottom still.
they'll have a top 15, maybe even top 10 defense, but they will not have a very
Yeah,
good
but their offense, I don't think Tua's going to start, so it's going to be, Fitzmagic thrown to just Devontae Parker again?
Pretty
Who's their
much.
running back? I think
That
Jordan
he-
Howard? I don't know. I don't think their offense would be very good this year. I think average is the fair place to put him. But I guess
I think their rushing attack is going to be really underrated. But I agree. Outside of that, it's going to be very just meh. But once Tua gets in, though, that's when they'll pop. Because I still really like Tua.
Next, we have Ryan Griffin.
Ryan Griffin.
Not son of Peter Griffin. He is the tight end for the Jets.
That's right.
Jets.
Average for me.
I'd agree with an average ranking.
I think he kind of lost his job to Herndon.
I think that what puts him his red zone is what puts him up to that average category. He'd be below average, but I think it's just red zone-ness helps him out there.
so. I'm looking at the depth chart for next year, and I do believe Chris Hendon is going to be the starter. I'm not sure if Ryan Griffin is still going to be the starter. He's 30 years old. Had okay numbers. I can pull up his exact stats if you want, but I think average is probably fair for him.
I kind of want to vote below average. Because I just don't think he's going to see much
Okay with that.
of the field.
No, and actually, I just pulled up his numbers. He did have 5 touchdowns last year, but only 200 yards. He had 400 yards once in his career, but otherwise it's been about 200. So I'm okay with below average too. I'm actually going to change my vote to below average.
I have his 2019 stats pulled up, and he had 320 yards.
I'm looking at 282.
I'm looking at PFF says 320.
Wikipedia
I see
says
the same
282.
tweet one.
Wikipedia not a reliable source. I'm just kidding. I'm just making fun of my teachers.
320, 39 targets, 34 receptions, 320 yards, 5 touchdowns, 9.4 yards per reception.
Yeah, so 320 yards. I just checked ESPN says that. I don't know why Wikipedia is off on that one. I'm sorry about that.
Somebody doesn't like Ryan Griffin, obviously.
I guess.
Does that change your mind about where he is at all?
No.
No, it's only 40 more yards.
Jack Doyle.
Above average.
I'm going to say above average too, because he's the starter in Indianapolis. Is he
Yeah.
not?
I'm agreeing with you guys.
I mean, he's been a consistently fun, solid tight end. Sure.
Yeah. I hope he
Well,
does.
and I think that with Phillip Rivers going there, I mean, they have T.Y. Hilton and they have guys that can step up at wide receiver, but
I have Michael Pittman, who I'm really high on.
oh, yeah, that's
Super
right.
high on Michael Pittman as well.
I really
But
So
really high.
third piece.
So
in
last
that
year
offense.
he played all 16 games, just under 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, but he was competing with Eric Ebron.
Right.
So take that with a grain of salt. I don't think he
Yeah.
was the star last year.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, so he was getting 4.5 targets a game. He had 43 receptions for that 440 yards. So, I mean, averaging about 10 yards a reception. He did have 4 touchdowns, which puts him in the top 15 for touchdowns among tight ends. So middle of the pack. But I think what Jack Doyle does and what Jack Doyle can do is, like I said, if you have 2 receivers there, one's really good, one has the potential to be really good, and then you have a Jack Doyle in the mix, it makes you very dangerous.
Yeah, and I think obviously without Eric Ebron there, he's going to get more targets, and I think Phillip Rivers will throw to him a lot. So
Yeah, because I mean, Phillip Rivers is used to having Antonio Gates and then Hunter Henry, and then so Jack Doyle.
Next year we have his backup, Trey Burton. He played 8 games last year, 14 receptions, 84 yards. But you got to remember here, he did get hurt, and he wasn't playing the full games. He'd be in for a couple plays, and then he'd be out the rest of the drive. He did say that he was misdiagnosed with the injury that he had, and so his return, he shouldn't actually have returned, but he did return because he was misdiagnosed. So I'm not taking his last season's horrible stats into consideration here, just because he had his injury last season. But I'd say he's average.
Yeah, I mean,
I think average is fair.
for Philly
Average is
fit.
fair.
Okay, next we have Darren Fells.
Below average.
Yeah.
So he's been on 4 teams the last 4 years. He's played 6 years in the NFL. Only twice has he had more than 200 yards. I mean,
What team's he on now?
he's on Houston. He's on Houston right now.
Oh, so I mean, Deshaun Watson will probably make him look somewhat of a decent guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's also 34, so he's not young.
Ew.
I think below average for him.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah,
okay
below
with that. The only thing is his red zone threat. He did have 7 touchdowns last year, but besides that, I'm okay with him in below average.
But those put him top 5 in touchdowns.
Yes.
That's
Number
Yeah,
3.
but
yeah, I was gonna say number 3.
But he's like 30
He was-
amongst against yards and stuff.
Well, I'll maybe
Yeah.
put just because that's an impressive stat. That's really about it. I mean, he'll be the starter for Houston. I'm sure with Deshaun Watson there, he'll put up something of numbers, you know.
Yeah, let's move
Well,
him
you-
up to average.
Okay.
he did play all 16 games last year and had 341 yards.
Which is not good, but I mean, that red zone, though.
That red zone, yeah.
They just don't put him out there until they need,
But by the
those
Texans-
5 yards in the red zone.
I mean, I do think that the Texans are going to be hot garbage anyway. So
Well, they need to have a major red zone threat because they don't have DeAndre Hopkins. I can't think of any of their, I don't think Brandon Cooks is very much of a red zone threat. He's more just, if he's open downfield, you got him.
True.
Will Fuller definitely isn't because same reason. Maybe having a what's his name?
I don't know. We're sitting in a car. DeAndre Hopkins.
No, was on the Packers for like ever. That Randall Cobb. Having Randall Cobb in the slot. That might be able to get you some touchdowns, but I think Darren Fells might become the main touchdown method through the air.
Okay. Our next guy here, Tyler Eifert. He is a Jacksonville Jaguar here, starting with my boy Gardner Minshew and Tony Khan's trophy toys.
Average.
I'd also agree average.
Because if he plays and he plays for the whole season, he's going to do solid. If he doesn't play at all, then he's not going to play at all. Because he does like to get injured.
So last year was the first year he played in all 16 games. He only started 4. Because I think he was kind of injured for a while.
Really not that great anymore. I mean, I don't know.
He's actually only had 1 season with more than 600 yards, and that was 5 years ago.
See, he's an average guy.
I could see you argue for below average.
Yeah, I'm kind of more leaning towards below average, but I mean, it's whatever, I guess.
So last year he played in all 16 last year. Only started 400 yards, 436, 3 touchdowns. I mean,
Hey, remember who his quarterback was, though?
That's true.
Was Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton's not that bad of a quarterback.
Andy Dalton is really not that bad, guys.
But so hear me out. Andy Dalton spent 90% of the games on his ass.
That's true, but I don't think Gardner Minshew is better than Andy Dalton.
No, in fact, Jacksonville's probably right now is a worse offensive line than Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think
I wouldn't.
Battle line, but at least they'll have Jonah Williams coming back.
Are you? Jacksonville is a bad O-line?
I'm pretty sure they do.
But they have Andrew Norwell. They have like a bunch of like big names.
I'm pretty sure PFF had him as like one of the lowest graded offensive lines. I'm pretty sure.
I'm actually looking it up. And
I could be wrong. I mean,
according to Pro Football Focus, they were the 26th offensive line last year.
That's not very good.
Dang.
No.
That is bad, actually.
The Bengals were 30 though, so it is an improvement.
You know what? You are okay. Sorry. So Jacksonville does have a better O-line, but I will say, the Bengals are going to get Jonah Williams for the first time, and obviously he didn't play at all last year, but I'm just going to assume that's an improvement from what they've had. I'm going to assume.
Yeah, I think Jonah Williams will be an improvement. I don't know. I think the Jags offense will be worse than the Bengals offense this year.
I think the Jaguars are actually going to be the worst team in the NFL next year. Fun fact.
I don't know how though. They
below average.
Below average.
I'm fine with it being below average.
Okay. Next, Janu Smith.
Jonnu Smith, okay, his stats aren't going to look that good. He was the backup, though, for Delaney Walker, but he still put up some numbers. I think Jonnu Smith, I want to put him in average because, like, obviously, like, he was a rookie last year, was in the second string spot. It might have been a second
He
year
was
last
not a
year.
rookie last year.
Second year?
Drafted in
Third
2017.
year.
What?
So last year was his third year.
Oh, I thought he said it was his seventh year. I was like, what?
No, drafted in 2017.
Gotcha. I think he's really good.
I think he's average.
Sure.
Yeah, average is fine.
Sure.
George Reed.
Below average. He won't.
Below average.
He just went
He'll
what?
get injured.
Didn't he retire, or am I just making that up?
You're making that up.
I thought he retired. Who's he play for now?
He's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
Well, yeah. So it's gonna be hard to be in an average tight end if you don't play, dog.
That's very true. That's a great point. Another guy that's a free agent that I think he might, because he's not retired. Delaney Walker isn't retired, is he?
No, but he is like 34.
Yeah, I think
He's
he'll get
35.
He's
35.
35.
I think he'll get signed as just that veteran guy somewhere.
I think at this point, no respect to Delaney Walker, but I'm gonna say below average. His last good season was 2017 with the Tennessee Titans. He played all 16 games, 800 yards, 3 touchdowns. Since then, he's played in 8 games over the last 2 years, 250 yards, 260 yards over the last 2 years. At 35, coming off some major injuries, I think at this point, it's pretty much his career's pretty much over.
Yeah, but again, Delaney Walker's been really solid.
Brendan, why'd you delete that guy?
Because I put him there.
Okay, that's fair. Oh,
It was Austin Jenkins.
Yes, he would be below average. So,
Yeah. 'cause
Austin-
all right.
Also,
I remember that there was like the talks that the plan was for, because he was he got injured or he got a ban of some sort early in the season last year. So the plan was for him to full circle, make it back to the Pats. But then the Patriots drafted Keene and Asiasi, so he's probably not coming back. And also Tom Brady's not there anymore, so he's like triply not coming back. It'll be interesting if he gets a job anywhere.
So we didn't do him, but really quickly, where do you think Mercedes Lewis would be? Below average?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me look at his stats actually real quick before I just say yeah.
Don't look at his stats. He's below average.
Oh, is there a stat below average? Is there below average?
He's below average. He's actually a pretty solid blocking tight end, but that's it.
His stats are not that good. Okay. So make sure you go vote in our poll that will be out on Thursday or Friday. Is Austin Hooper elite or above average?
Above average.
Tell us what you think. But that's for that. The Big Show is knocking out some 7-foot ninja
cool.
on Raw. So, you know what that means? It's time to move on. Big Show's definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, but do you know who is a big question mark for being in the Hall of Fame?
Who?
Corey Dillion, former Bengals and Patriots running back. Okay, so 4-time Pro Bowler. He only played 10 years, so he had a short career. Is 20th all-time in rushing yards.
Ooh.
Has a Super Bowl under his belt. Some Patriots fans may even say he was the driving force that the Patriots got to the Super Bowl that year in 2004.
Yeah. So he played 7 out of the 10 years from Cincinnati. He got 3 of his Pro Bowls with Cincinnati. 1 in 2004 with the Patriots. Obviously, that's their Super Bowl year. 20th in yards is pretty impressive. I wish he had an All-Pro or something to his name. I know he does have that. He does have a Super Bowl win under his belt, and that 2004 year in New England was his best year. 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns.
He is also 17th in rushing touchdowns all time. Fun fact.
Well, I'll start with my verdict. I say he will be a Hall of Famer someday.
I agree with Duncan.
Ben, what's your answer?
I think eventually he'll be a Hall of Fame. He had okay numbers, and obviously he had a couple really good seasons. I think with the Hall of Fame, especially with more recent players, it's taking longer for them to get in because there are so many great players waiting to get in the Hall of Fame. But I think he will eventually. I don't know how soon it will be, but I definitely think it will be eventually.
Sure, Hall of Famer. Someday. Maybe. Someday. It's close. But I figured if it's close, it's, when you're 20th all time in NFL rushing, it's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is you got to look at all the guys that are ahead of them, how many of them are already in the Hall of Fame and how many of them are going to be, or if they're already borderline Hall of Famers. I think that's the kind of thing I need to look at, but Corey Dillion. Okay, so John Reagan's Hall of Famer. Steven Jackson, he'll be a Hall of Famer. Fred Taylor should be a Hall of Famer. Thurman Thomas is already a Hall of Famer. Same with Franco, Marcus Allen, Edgerrin James, Marshall Faulk, Jim Brown. Actually, yeah, I will actually. I'll say he's going to be a Hall of Famer because a lot of the guys that are in the top 20 are either already in the Hall of Fame or they're in that borderline. Because, honestly, the only people he's really going to have to really worry about beating out, because Franco and AP are Hall of Famers. Easily.
Yeah.
Fred Taylor and Steven Jackson and Corey Dillion, I think, are in that same frame of they have a shot to, and I think they're deserving of it. So, yeah, I'll say Hall of Famer.
Nice. I'm looking at this list here. Do you know Zeke is already 115?
Wow.
3 years.
Well, at that point, it's only 5,000 yards. I mean,
Zeke's going to shoot up there, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if he's at this point already.
Mark Ingram's 64.
Wow.
Oh.
See, the difference is I think Zeke has a chance to move farther up than Mark Ingram does.
I think Ingram will move top 50.
Mark Ingram might not even be the starter in Baltimore after next year.
Oh, that's true, too. But you can definitely tell the big jump from Emmett and Peyton to, even once you get to number 20 with 11,000.
Yeah.
10,000 yards. But
if someone was to sign LaShawn McCoy and he came back and had 600 yards, he'd be 17th.
I saw that. That's crazy. Somebody should just sign him. Just sign him.
Oh, it'd be fun.
Come on, Shady McCoy.
Sign him.
You're not losing much.
I think of a team that could sign him. Honestly, maybe the Vikings
Bucks.
fucking go. Dalvin Cook may sit out, so shoot.
Here we go. How about the Bucks, the old man team?
Perfect, yeah, might as well.
Honestly, give Tom Brady LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Why not? That's a great question. And that's what we'll leave it off with. So don't forget to vote on our poll and like and share and follow us on social media at SighSquadPod. Give us a 5-star review, big likes, tell your friends and family and coworkers and enemies, and tell everybody about the podcast, help us out. Yeah, for the SighSquadPod, I'm Duncan.
I am Ben.
And I am the runner of the Corey Dillion Fan Club.
And this has been the SighSquad Podcast. We'll see you next week.